Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez and Joe Dehls. This is episode 380. In this episode, we're going to give our predictions for the conference finals and recap the closeout games in the second round. Fellas, today we are without Riv. If you guys are listening or watching out there, just want to let you know that Riv is going through some personal matters right now, so please have some compassion in the comments. He's not ducking, he's not doing none of those things. Just want to let that be known. Fellas, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. Sending my love to my brother, Riv. Hope you're doing okay. Sending my love to you always. But at the same time, on a separate note, did we get a new applause button?
No, it's different. I think it was just louder.
Interesting.
No, it's the same. It was just louder. I apologize.
It caught me by surprise. I heard it for the first time today, and I thought we were doing something different, but doing all right. Can't complain. Sports has been pretty damn great. The parity in the NBA is just unbelievable. I know a lot of people, that's been a huge topic of discussion recently, talking about how people are happy that the Nuggets aren't going to repeat. And honestly, I'm pretty damn happy about it too. But it should be a great show. A lot of great conversations are going to be had, and I know that there are some fans looking forward to today's episode.
Such a split still on the four players remaining, because everyone's like, I saw some meme where it's like Wolves Mavs. Everyone is excited for that match. I cannot wait for Wolves Mavs. And then on the other side, you got Celtics Pacers, and there's just nobody really on any side wants either team to win. No one wants to see the Pacers in the finals. No one wants to see Boston in the finals. It's just funny how those two conferences add up, because. Oh, hello.
I'll tell you what, I never thought that I would want a team like the...
No way, dude. Devontae Parker just retired.
No way. What are the odds of that?
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
We were just talking about him before the show.
A team like the Pacers is usually a team that I find myself rooting for. Underdog, you come out of nowhere. I want nothing to do with them, and I don't want them to have any type of success.
Because they beat your Knicks?
That also, they are kind of corny.
Oh, you hate them. You think the front runner allegations are true.
I can't believe Halliburton, and I could be wrong. Did Halliburton wear that choking hoodie before the...
No, it was post-game.
Okay, yeah. Just post-game.
He did not wear it before the game.
Everyone acts tough when they're ahead, and that is corny to me. If you're going to talk your shit like that man did when they were down 3-2, at least back it up. Did he back it up to the fullest? Not really, but his team...
W's all you need.
You went out there and you won, but he talked his shit the whole way through, even when he was down. You can't be like this when Halliburton's going and talking shit to Deuce McBride and then he's pretending to scratch his nose.
Nah, I don't know what's going with him.
I'm just like, you got to be better at this trash talking shit. And again, I'm happy for him. Again, Indiana hasn't seen a lot of success in a while.
Yeah. But
at the same time, I usually am drawn to teams like this that are the underdogs, and this is one of the few times where I don't care,
because they don't have a underdog like feel to them. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's so like, oh,
why is this? Because it's a real Mickey Mouse run?
Yeah, I don't want to say Mickey Mouse because they're taking advantage. You know what I mean? Like
you guys.
I can't. I mean, we.
That's all you want to criticize.
We've done this. I can't be mad at them for taking advantage, because realistically, bro, I don't know if Indiana's gonna get back here. You know what I mean? Like, so of course them like talking shit ahead and all that, and having this kind of like, I don't know, they just, even in the regular season they felt like this when they were going up against the Bucks. Like, they were doing this shit all season long. So I don't know the next time fans are going to see them in the ECF. So shout out to you guys, you made it to the ECF. Is it going to happen next year? Talk your shit while you're here. So I can't be too mad, like, when's the last time Indiana was in this position, bro? It's been 10 years. You know what I mean?
Was it 2000?
It wasn't that long ago. It was with Paul George.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
10
true.
years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
No,
Still,
I'm
though,
old, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, but I don't think it was that long ago.
But it's a whole new generation of fans that are coming up.
Fake a really, really underrated franchise. They just can't get over that hump and win that championship, but they'll keep it competitive.
Nah, I just feel like there are players that people just start to hate, and Tyrese Halliburton is a player that everybody just hates now. It's popular to hit on him. It's cool to hit on him. So whatever he does, it ain't going to be cool. It's always going to be cool.
I'll say this as a player. I don't hate on Halliburton. I think that he definitely is a very good basketball player for damn sure. I do think that he's a star in this league. But there's ways of handling yourself on the court when you're trying to look cool, or you're trying to act cool.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk trash, talk trash. Don't be with the what's the word I'm looking for? Don't be low key about it.
The Deuce McBride stuff was whack. I don't really get too mad if he's front running. Like, if you're up 20, you're spanking me. You can do what you want. You know what I mean? And if you're down 20, I'm gonna be able to look at the fucking score. You know, like so. I think that's fine. But what do you do with Deuce? Like calling him small, then he turns around. Like,
nah,
bro,
that
like
was
that's not even
cringy.
something that crazy. You know, like if you were wild and if you were like doing something disrespectful and be like, let me get it, let me chill. Okay. But that was just some little like Deuce would have just been like, all right, whatever, bro.
He was
probably would
killing
have
us,
left.
though.
Oh my god,
He was violating us.
He
I'm not gonna
was.
lie.
Last few games, he was in his bag.
No, he was killing us.
We'll talk about that game.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, if you're listening, subscribe. We're almost at 60K.
Almost
you guys
at
been
60.
showing that love. So
Y'all have me going crazy.
Shout
See,
to you.
that did not sound the same. It must have been because it was loud.
I think that's what it was because I haven't touched it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My ears, they're failing me right now.
60K, man. Almost there.
60K is
60K,
nuts.
Close.
400. Here we go.
You know what? I
Big
can't get caught
milestones.
on. That's a fact. I get caught on how we went from 25 to 50. Now from 50, it's 100. You can't sleep on the little ones. 60, 70, shit, 65. 100%, I'm with you.
We're close to 57. That's what
We
we're
are
really
close to 57.
We're gonna probably get it
I was
pretty
going to
soon.
say, that's a few days, hopefully, God willing.
You guys keep subscribing. You guys
Hey,
keep
shout out to
liking
all
this
those
content.
Mavs fans. Shout out to those Wolves fans.
That's
Shout out to everybody who's been giving us shit. I had so many people go back to that Thunder and 6 tweet I had because I tweeted and within like 10 minutes, bro, it had like 10 bookmarks. And I'm like, I was just like crying at the bookmarks. Like I tweeted under it and then people were replying like, are you still crying? I was like, ah, shit. Like,
Now, Mavs fans are a special group, and it'll be an interesting time when we talk about them, which should be in a matter of minutes, seconds maybe.
We're gonna talk about them soon. Shout out to Prize Picks. You guys can use the code up right there. Conference finals coming up. If you want to add some more excitement to watching the games, then it's a good way to play. With Prize Picks, use code PS, 100% deposit match up to $100. We were also thinking about an idea. I think I mentioned it to you, Drew, and to you, Dehls, before, but for the Patreon, we have been very inconsistent since the football season ended because we used to post the pick'ems on the Patreon. So I guess during this time period, it's really just been us trying to think about what type of content we want to put on there. And I had an idea. I want to see how the audience feels about it. And you guys too in real time. I think you guys gave me your thoughts already though about just having a debate of the week. You know, you guys love when we debate. We're going to have a spin the wheel of a bunch of topics that we can debate. Whatever it lands on, that's what we're going to debate for that given Patreon episode. So it would be 4 debates a week. And they're not going to be something quick like we're skimping you guys. No, it's going to be something that we're going to go in depth on. We're going to have a moderator. We're going to have rounds. And it's going to be an organized debate. And then you guys pick the winner of the debate. And it's 4 debates a week. 4 debates a month.
First time ever organized debates.
Yeah,
never had this before.
Never, ever. This is an argumentative podcast that never is organized.
Organized debates. No, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, nah, should be fun.
That sounds pretty great. I thought we would do the keeping the trivia on the main show too. I like, and then this Patreon idea definitely is going to be one that should be suited for those that just enjoy seeing us debate, and that's really what the Patreon can be. I like that.
The first topic of the show. You know we got to get started hot.
Have to.
You know we got to get started hot. I was thinking about how I wanted to come up on here. Wanted to be humble. Wanted to maintain my composure. When it comes to the Dallas Mavericks, there's been a lot of disrespect on them. They beat OKC in 6 games. We could recap the game in a little bit. Just comments made, man. OKC in 6 wasn't terrible. But Mavs fans are super passionate and they remember everything. So they got after you. But you, mister. 10 seed. PJ, I remember we had a BR debate, and I said PJ Washington's a needle mover. Y'all both told me he wasn't. 19 points in the second round. PJ Washington.
Game 7 got saved by a Mickey Mouse call.
And pouring 3-point shots.
Shout out to Derek Jones Jr. That guy really balled out in Game 7. Nah, but I'd be very disingenuous if I did not give PJ Washington his respect. He's been awesome this postseason.
I called them dark horse contenders mid-season. I got laughed at by all you 3, and I need a refresher in my brain. Santos sent me a list of the clips.
Please.
All the clips.
Play them
all
all.
the clips. I don't want to play it all just now. I think when he's ready to release it, he will release it, and then we could play it.
Oh, he's going to put it on
Yeah, I think he's going to put it on his account. Drew, you're my brother.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but I noticed this in the midst of you speaking on the Mavericks. And this is why Mavericks fans were so mad at you. This is why they couldn't stand you.
One of the many reasons. Let's hear it.
At some point, you stopped analyzing and you started trolling.
It's partially true.
OKC in 5, when you made that prediction, I told you that's a dumb opinion.
I felt very, very good about that, truthfully.
Why?
OKC looked dominant against the Pelicans, and I did not see Dallas look dominant against the Clippers.
5 games, brother?
OKC was
a gentleman's sweep on Luka and Kyrie. Luka ain't even play well, and they beat him in 6.
That's exactly why. Luka hadn't played well, saw Kyrie play some awesome basketball, but I just wasn't bought in on that performance versus the Clippers, and I had saw Oklahoma City all season long be one of the best teams in basketball on both sides.
I did it too. You know, because before the playoffs started, I said like Dallas and OKC is like contention because I had the Nuggets number 1, but I thought those two were in contention for the 2 and 3 like best team in the West, and I had Minnesota at 4 because of the cat injury. But I thought the same thing as Drew. I thought Pelicans, OKC, I'm like, OKC just dominated this. And I thought the same thing as Drew because I'm looking at a banged up Clippers team kind of going bar for bar at times with this Mavs team that I was thinking is a team that like legit could go to the WCF, legit if things go right could go to the finals. That's how great they were playing. But I was wrong. I'm sitting here. I was wrong too. You know, I already got my hell, but I was wrong too. OKC in 6. I think some of their flaws that got masked against the Pelicans because the Pelicans were just super banged up as well, and without Zion, they really just don't have a talent. Like the talent isn't equal on both teams for that to be a legitimate series. And I think I just overlooked that, and I gave OKC too much credit. And no matter what, you know, if you do it convincingly, if you do it not convincingly, it's matchup to matchup. You know what I mean? Like you talk about Dallas, who had a really tough time against the Clippers team, who was banged up, and I feel like they took care of OKC, a healthy team that was better than the Clippers, more comfortably than they just did with the team that was banged up. Yep. But a big part of that was Luka in these last couple games. You know, Luka, the first round of the playoffs wasn't great. First 2, 3, 4 games, even in this series, that he wasn't the same. Luka self was that game 4. He had like that 19-point performance, and I was trolling, doing all that shit. And then he steps these next 2 games, he locks in. You see him with the referees, not as much, at least in game 5, game 6. He was kind of OD at times. But yeah, getting Luka 2 of those games, that's what sealed the series.
There was part of me that was trolling, but then when I have to do my analysis, 95% of that is me feeling confident in what I'm saying. I did feel confident at that moment that I picked OKC in 5. I damn sure felt great after game 1, but like you mentioned to me a couple of days ago, you can't take a game 1 Dallas Mavericks game 2 series because Jason Kidd's never won one in his career.
It blows my mind that it doesn't matter now. Either you win or you're losing like what we were expecting.
Yeah, he's Mr. Game 2, and he makes amazing adjustments. He made some awesome adjustments in this one. But where I feel like, and a lot of people I feel like, oh, why do you guys talk about how wrong you are? I feel like that's part of accountability. And why I feel so wrong about this series is I doubted the role players strongly. And Mark Daigneault also felt similarly how I felt. And they blitzed Luka. They blitzed Kyrie, forced PJ, forced Derek Jones and Derek Lively just to be good. And especially understanding that you're going to have this amount of attention to these 2 stars. You got to hit your shots now. PJ answered that call. Derek answered that call. Of course, Lively also was big, especially at the free throw line down the stretch of these games. I give a lot of credit to those role players. Tim Hardaway Jr. was a no-show outside of game 2. But these role players definitely shut me the hell up. And I got to give acknowledgement to those guys. Luka Doncic, of course, is going to be Luka. Kyrie Irving, maybe not his most efficient series, but even at the end of the day, you talk all the time about his leadership. You understand, I know about that. Kyrie Irving is one of the better leaders, and I feel like that goes unnoticed because of all the outside things that aren't about basketball. But again, when it comes to the Mavericks, this is really where he solidified himself as a leader. And it's rubbed off on everyone. So I give credit where credit is due, of course. No hater from me. I know I've had a lot of fun with the Dallas Mavericks fan. They gave me the hell that I definitely deserved. But at the same time, you know, job's not done. You got to go out there and you still got to finish. You got to finish and get to a championship. But you still take your.
Stop it.
Well, let me finish.
Stop it.
Take your victories. You're going on to the next round. This is your second WCF in a matter of 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
second in 3 years.
So listen, you guys have been awesome, especially under that man over there.
If this is where their season ends, this is a successful season.
I don't think any Mavericks fan feels that way.
No, 100% they should feel that way.
Listen, I'll say this also. Mavs fans, end of the road here in terms of us trolling. You won. You guys have gotten way farther than I ever imagined. I thought round 2 would definitely be the furthest you'd go. But you ultimately have a top 3 player in the world. You have one of the best Robins in basketball. You have one of the better coaches, especially in terms of making adjustments, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and Jason Kidd, who I feel like towards the middle of the season, although the roster was not great, you made the moves, especially at the trade deadline, to go and fill out his
This
game
ain't
plan.
a make or break year.
Not at all.
You gotta extend
Not
it.
at all.
That's why they're successful. It's a successful
But
season.
why I still say is if you're a Mavericks fan, you've gotten this far. We do have a top 3 player in the world who could have arguably been the MVP of the league. I still think that their mindset is we can win a championship, especially now that Denver's out of the picture.
Oh, no, they should feel that way, but that doesn't mean just because if the season were to end, it's not a successful season. Because ultimately, nobody picked them to be here. Everybody picked them to miss the playoffs. That's for one. And this team has only played with each other for half a season. Imagine how much chemistry they can build. They have an off season together. Imagine how better Lively's going to get from year 1 to year 2. Luka's only going to keep improving. Derrick Jones Jr., I think he should get paid this offseason. He has deserved it. If he stays with the team, how much better he's going to get. PJ now having an offseason to train for a specific role that he wants to thrive in. I think it's just the beginning for the Mavericks. And as long as you got Luka and Kyrie, it's going to be that way. So I think even if it were to end here, it's a successful season. You ain't mentioned the defense, brother. You ain't mentioned the defense not once.
And I'll be honest, in that game 6, the defense was not great.
No. I got some quotes here.
Okay.
When I said they were my dark horse contender,
was that before or after PJ and Gafford?
it was after. It was when they had games with them.
Okay.
You said,
all right, let's
Lord
see.
help me if you talk about that defense.
The defense was terrible.
This defense is one of the worst in
It
basketball.
was.
Y'all really thought I was taking the Mavericks? Remember when he said that to
that
y'all?
was about the Clippers.
He said
That was a great
Clippers
moment.
in
That was a good
6.
moment.
If Kawhi would have played, who knows?
He said Clippers in 6.
knows?
I still don't believe in this Mavericks
7.
defense.
It was Clippers in 7.
No,
However,
I have it. I quoted
I
it from the
thought you
videos.
said 7.
I thought I said 7.
But okay.
If you have me quoted, fair. And
after
going
game
to give
1,
them credit for their defense. Oh, after game 1, I wasn't alone.
you said it'd be super tragic to see your season end this way.
It would be.
Laughing.
It would have been super
Oh,
tragic.
you guys are funny. I don't think. Sorry, go ahead, Drew.
I don't think this defense was all world. It was great in moments for sure.
In the playoffs, it's been really damn good.
In that game 6, I'm not looking at that as a great defensive performance. That's not what won them the game. What
They're
won
in the
them-
conference finals because of their defense.
I agree. Almost all of their
For a
wins, they've
majority-
held the opponents under 100.
Agreed. Well,
to be
again,
fair.
They held
Clippers
OKC to
banged
their
up,
lowest point total
but
this season.
OKC agreed. They showed a
They
lot.
had them in hell at times.
They
too.
showed me a lot in this Oklahoma City series, especially for how they made J-Dub look, because J-Dub was not confident at moments. But in that game 6, we saw Chet be on. We saw J-Dub be on. We saw SGA all series long be at the SGA that we are accustomed to or have been accustomed to these last couple of seasons, but finally showed it in a playoff setting. The one big thing that stands out to me more than anything is Cason Wallace down the stretch of that game 6. If he just hits a couple more of those wide open shots. Again, I don't look at this defense as being amazing in that closeout game. What won them the game for me was down the stretch, their offense couldn't be stopped. Oklahoma City could not find a stop for Dallas's offense, whether it was Luka, whether it was Derrick Jones, whether it was PJ. You mentioned him hitting a big shot down the stretch of the game in that corner 3, him being able to force a foul on him in that last possession. When Oklahoma City went up 1 after they were down 5, I still didn't feel confident, even though they had came back from behind after they were up, of course. I didn't feel confident because the Mavericks had been so great closing that game. So again, I give respect to what their defense had done in the series. But game 6 was not won because of their defense.
Game 6, they were down 16 points. You got to make runs on offense, but that coincides with your defense. You're not coming back down 16 if you're not getting a multitude of stops.
I don't disagree, but at the same time, you're getting stops. But these guys had really, really high quality looks that just were not falling.
Especially for some of their best shooters. But I don't think Dallas, Joel, I think it's fair to say that this has been a successful season. I think that's fair. Due to their preseason expectations, due to even their midseason
That's a good point.
expectations. But in the same breath, that does not mean that you could just say, well, we lost in WCF, we'll be back next year, because it's not guaranteed.
No, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, so although it's a successful season, I still think you have to be going into this series saying, like, we got to take advantage of what we have in front of us.
But would
because
any player on the Mavericks feel like it was a successful season?
No player in the NBA going for that.
Jalen Brunson at the postgame said this is a failure.
I feel like players validate my thoughts on that, where if you don't win a championship, it's not a successful season.
Well, you got to look at it
that's a different
objectively.
perspective.
But you mentioned it, how the Mavericks had only been together for half a season, and I don't disagree there. That's a huge testament to them and how they were able to gel so quickly with one another. I look at last season where, of course, everyone's going to say I just happened to bring the Lakers in, but the Lakers were together for half a season too, and they were able to make a conference run, and they got swept, and everyone just talks about it. Oh, who cares? Really doesn't matter. You made it to the conference finals, but you lost. It doesn't really matter.
And you were happy with that outcome, though?
No.
You weren't happy with making the conference finals?
I was happy to get there in the moment, but my goal was always to win.
That's cap, bro. I know you was happy that you made the WCF.
Of course you're happy.
I want
you're happy,
to win.
but it's the same thing with the Mavs.
Of course you want to win, but
I was sad as fuck when we lost.
Of course, everybody's gonna be sad
No,
when they
but
lose.
again, I didn't feel like it was a success to make it.
You was
be
flexing that WCF appearance all offseason long.
All Mavericks fans are happy they're here. They're not satisfied.
They shouldn't be.
But that's exactly the same correlation.
If the Indiana Pacers get eliminated, we know that it's a successful season for them.
Their timeline's also
Yes.
different. They have different caliber of players
They
than
do.
what Dallas has. Dallas has arguably one of the best players on the planet, MVP candidate. Kyrie's been, even though statistically points per game wise not sensational this still round, he's still been efficient. He's still giving you 7 assists. He's 33, if I'm not mistaken. Like, of course, it's not looked like he's fallen off by any means, but you have Kyrie who's getting up there in age, has had some injury history. You got a healthy run from him right now. Like, go take advantage. You have Derrick Jones Jr., who I believe is a free agent after this season. He's going to get money from somewhere. I don't know if Dallas retains him, although that would be one of my top priorities because he's been great. So when everything's clicking like this, because you're going to have different runs where someone's going to get banged up, or your role player who had been playing great in the regular season all of a sudden's cold from 3. When things are clicking like this is when you have to jump on it. So Mavs fans, again, like, it should be a successful season, but this shouldn't be enough. Like,
Agreed.
This Minnesota series is up for grabs.
It's winnable.
I know
Yes.
they just beat
Winnable.
the Nuggets, and everyone's on the Wolves as they deserve, but Dallas goes into that series, I think, should be about an even series, like plus minus 100 in terms of like Vegas odds. This is a
with you.
toss-up to me.
I think the Mavericks should want to win the championship. I feel like they should feel like it's this year. Listen, this year has been special for them. So I understand them feeling that way, and I think there's a chance with the range of outcomes that it's possible because they have a player like Luka Doncic.
I agree.
With that being said, I still think if they lose in the conference finals, I think every Mavericks fan will say, I am proud of this
Correct.
team. This was a great season.
Agreed.
This was a successful
I'm with you.
season.
See, that's when you
They
use
were
that word.
they were predicted to miss the playoffs.
You have a disconnect.
Everybody picked them against
You're right.
OKC.
Yeah.
They picked OKC to beat them.
They did.
A lot of people picked the
Me
Clippers to
included.
beat them as well. So you went 2 rounds where you weren't even favored. I mean, this is a 5th seed that went all the way to the conference finals. I think this is a successful season.
Now, did a lot of people choose the Clippers in that series, assuming Kawhi would be healthy?
We never know with him.
Agreed, but we kind of all felt, oh, he's getting this rest in the regular season to be ready for the postseason.
He was hurt.
But
What do
going
you mean
but
rest?
the question, it's like having to question it in general, just that's a big tiebreaker for me. Because if he was healthy, that's a legitimate series that I'm thinking about with the injury history behind him, the current injury he was dealing with. That's what made me be like, I think Dallas is going to take
basketball when he was on the court this
He
season.
he wasn't resting down the stretch of the season. He was
he was
dealing
hurt.
with
He
the
was
injury.
He was hurt.
Obviously,
he
I mean,
was
yeah,
hurt.
he
I
couldn't
mean,
play.
definitely.
Yeah.
But this was the most amount of games that we've seen him play since his time in San
unfortunate.
Antonio.
Yeah.
So I thought we were finally getting a full healthy season out of him. So it did surprise. And I mean, I don't know why I say surprise and shocking, because again, he's had these injury histories. He has had these concerns, but this season just kind of felt like the one for the Clippers, especially when it comes to Kawhi and his health.
I feel like because of the Wolves comeback, it overshadowed what the Mavericks comeback was.
Yeah.
Because they came back from 16
Hell yeah.
and the Wolves came back from 20 and it was game 7. So game 7, more chips are on the line. But this was a exceptional comeback.
Unbelievable
Luka
game.
Doncic, another triple-double. He was very efficient in this game. Kyrie Irving hit some late shots. Derrick Jones Jr. could not miss from 3 in the second half.
He was crazy.
He is shooting the ball so well.
He is.
And that's why it intrigues me to see what Minnesota is going to do this upcoming round. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, everybody was just amazing. Derek Lively on the glass. They out-rebounded OKC. They got a bunch of crucial loose balls, and I feel like they made proper defensive stops. SGA was unbelievable. And I want to give endless flowers to SGA because I think a lot of people question whether or not he could perform at this level in this stage, and he proved it. I think what was made evident to me is that he needs help. He needs help. You know, this isn't a team that is fully made just yet.
It's not ready yet.
They need
help. It needs help.
They need to add another player. And it doesn't have to be a star. It doesn't have to be Kevin Durant. It has to be someone like Isaiah Hartenstein, someone around the edges, maybe like a Caruso. It has to be somebody that can help take pressure off of him, even if it's just a stretch of a couple minutes.
That is
like a Malik Monk too. He would be great.
It's supposed to be J-Dub. It's supposed to be J-Dub. And why I feel like, let me say this, I understand where you're coming from. I get it, especially after watching this series and thinking down the stretch of the games where you can only rely on SGA in those moments. I agree. But at the same time, this is the youngest team in the playoffs. J-Dub is in his second season. Chet's in his first season. It's the big three where J-Dub is in his second season. This is Chet's rookie season. This team has time to grow. I still think that I agree with you. If it is an Isaiah Hartenstein, I think that that's the one that would help them the most because they do need more of an interior presence, especially help on the glass. But this team is still so young, still so raw, that I still trust the foundation of this squad. They still have assets. They still have a bunch of draft picks. They're going to be all right. I wouldn't go, if it's the route that you kind of made me jump ship onto what you were saying was that the Isaiah Hartenstein. Caruso would be an awesome add, but offensively, the main focus needs to be the three. SGA, of course, number one. J-Dub when SGA needs to take it easy, and then, of course, Chet Holmgren for hitting those threes and being that force inside. So I don't know if I would go all in on that, but you have a young squad. Still trusted.
This is like one of the only teams in the NBA where I can get behind you actually have like a pretty long window. Because I think typically even the Nuggets, who their dynasty or whatever is not over, their window is still there. But even looking at them, who it felt like coming into this playoffs, like I felt pretty confident they were going to be able to get through the West and you know, represent the West in the finals yet again. But this is the one team that I actually see a legit window because you have SGA at 26 years old, J-Dub, Chet, super young, Case and Wallace, that you don't have to be super aggressive yet. On the other hand, they have too many draft picks. They don't have enough roster spots for all of these draft picks. Good and point. To be fair, I mean, these are like 12 years out and stuff, but the amount of picks they've accumulated over these last couple of seasons, you got to do something with them at some point, right? So they're in position now where they're good enough to make a postseason run. I think this postseason showed you two things. Number one, if you needed to even, you know, have that validation, SJ is going to translate just fine. Put up 30, look like basically his regular season self. But the second thing is they're not quite ready yet. And although they were the number one seed, youngest number one seed in NBA history, Dallas kind of took you to town. And Dallas kind of, it felt like, really had controlled the series throughout. I didn't really feel too confident, even though I picked OKC. I was taking OKC in 6 or 7, but hindsight, looking back on it, Dallas always felt like the more complete and proven team to me. I just never felt too confident in the Thunder's offense game to game. It felt like it was just, there was a lot of tough shots. It was a lot of SGA late in the shot clock, having to hit these tough middies. Nothing ever felt super kind of fluent to me. For Dallas, I didn't feel that way because maybe it was just the way they were playing Luka and Kyrie, but they were consistently generating open shots. I didn't feel that same way about the Thunder. One of the bigger reasons why was because outside of SGA, you really didn't have another dude that can consistently create because J-Dub wasn't on. Chet can do it at times, but Chet's not playmaking or anything. Like, he could put the ball on the floor, he could attack closeouts, thing like that. But there's something missing with this OKC team that they don't have to get super aggressive yet. But this team is still ready to compete. So you should do something to bring in talent, at least put you one step ahead of what you were this year.
Hindsight is very interesting.
You got something to say about that?
It's just so hard to hear you say that, Joel.
It's your fault, man.
It is my fault.
He only picked OKC because of you, man.
No, he didn't do that. No, he's his own man. He has his own mind. He has his own thoughts.
Oh, man.
But hearing you say in hindsight, I feel like I've always felt that Dallas is the more complete team.
I shouldn't say I've always felt.
That's a tough statement.
Okay, because that implies that I was thinking after game 2, boom. But you look at it back now, I mean, the Thunder are putting up 92 points, 100 points.
In this series, you're
101
saying?
points.
Of course.
That's what I was talking about specifically this series.
Well, listen, I don't blame you, Dehls.
But
because,
coming
listen,
in, you had a top 5 offense, a top 5 defense. The more complete team was OKC.
Now, regular season numbers can be skewed. They can be skewed.
But again, in that
The Cavaliers, when they lost to the Knicks in the first round, they were top 10 in everything.
No, they were a good defense. They weren't that great of an
No,
offense.
they were a top 10 on offense.
Were
too.
they a top 10
no,
offense?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Maybe
I know they
I'm
were
wrong.
the number 1 defense for sure.
They were definitely number 1
Yes,
defense.
I know that for a
I'll
fact.
check if they were top 10 offense or not.
My thing that I have difficulty sitting with is, again, you say that in hindsight, but
They were ninth best offense.
Ninth, okay.
Yeah.
We've had conversations about how amazing J-Dub is.
Mm-hmm.
We've had would you rathers about how amazing J-Dub is and taking him over a lot of high quality players.
We got to stop this, man. This is the first time in the playoffs.
I have no problem with
first
that.
time in playoffs.
I have no problem with him even
And he had
struggling.
22 points in
But
game
to
6.
say, agreed. I think he had some great moments.
He was for the most part a B in the playoffs.
But my whole thing is to say that in hindsight, that they're the more complete team. There's not a reliable number 2 option, consistent number 2 option coming in. That's not a fair statement to make.
I don't feel like they lost because of J-Dub.
I don't disagree
And
either.
I think they lost because
They got
Lou
out
Dort
physical.
can't hit shots.
Well, that too.
On offense, Lou Dort was being left wide open, and he could not drain anything. He was cold this series.
He wasn't the only one. OKC wasn't that great of a 3-point shooting team this series, which they had been all year long.
Isaiah Joe missed some easy ones when he started in Game 5,
Kaysen
and then
went
Game
1
6,
for 8. He was
Kaysen did
terrible.
not shoot well either. I mean, this was a 1-point game. You know, if Kaysen Wallace makes a 3, or if SGA hits his free throws,
The other Jalen Williams having shot attempts in the fourth quarter too.
and he didn't make them, you know, this team could win. So I feel like, listen, for one, this team is super young. I do think their window, they have a big window. They got to end up paying guys soon. And this organization has been historically cheap. You could argue, well, they messed up with Harden, KD, and Russ before, so, you know, they'll make up for it this time around. You don't know that. You know, the ownership just might be cheap, and just he doesn't want to pay players like that.
They'd be a second apron team if you have 3 potential super maxes, because
Yes.
they can make all NBA teams or all defensive teams.
I want to make a statement, though, because we all understand that SGA was amazing and, in my opinion, the best player in this series. And that's with respect to Luka Doncic, who was going through injuries and going out there and battling and ultimately did win. I think for the 6 games, SGA proved to be the best player in the series. However, down the stretch of games, I want to see him be selfish. And I say that where he averaged 30 almost every single game, you can guarantee it 30 points from SGA. My issue is you need to know when you need to dominate the game offensively. When you're letting these guys, whether it's J-Dub, whether it's Jalen Williams, whether that's Kaysen Wallace, take these shots down the stretch, you need to demand the basketball, especially after having an MVP caliber season, especially when your team's back's against the wall. It's a game 6, you win or you go home. I need to see that level of assertiveness, that drive to want to win on a possession basis. And maybe that's unfair to ask, but when you are the best player on your team and your team honestly is in a bit of a cold spell and they need you to be that driving force offensively, especially scoring the basketball, where we saw in moments in that game 6, you saw that step back 3, whether basically in transition, that kind of saved them to give them some kind of life to stay in the game. To see them go out that way, I feel like he has another gear that he can find. That he's still young. Obviously, he is 26, back-to-back first-team All-NBA. There is another gear that I think that he can find, that every single time down the stretch of a game, he has the ball in his hands and he's looking to score the basketball, not being passive. I don't want to use the word as passive because that's not what he was doing, but
I think he made the right
not
plays.
demanding the basketball. He made the right plays, but again, we saw in moments, especially late in. You look at Kevin Durant, you look at LeBron James, you look at Steph Curry. There's certain times where they understand I need the ball in my hand because I'm the offense.
LeBron is most criticized for passing the ball in those moments.
In 2007, he had 25 points in the fourth quarter and overtime straight. Nobody else, because he knew I can't trust the rest of these guys right now. It has to be on my shoulders. Not that he couldn't trust J-Dub, not that he couldn't trust Chet, but in these moments, especially when it's win or go home, you need to have those type of moments, in my opinion.
Am I forgetting something, or did he not pass the ball to J.R. Smith Game 1 of the 2018
I mean,
NBA
LeBron's
Finals.
played for 20 years.
That's
He's
not
gonna
what
have
happened.
moments of
LeBron-
both.
That's not what happened. He caught off.
It was a
No,
rebound.
it was
It
a
was
free throw.
rebound.
JR caught the rebound. He went to half court not knowing.
But yeah, LeBron, he does get criticized for that, but LeBron has moments too.
I mean,
where
of
he's
course.
taken
I mean,
over.
this is not a SGA versus LeBron
No,
debate.
and that's not my point
But
to try.
I don't think SGA. I don't think the problem with OKC was a lack of aggression for him.
That's again. I'm not trying to call it a problem. I'm not trying to call it a problem. I'm
thought he was
simply
pretty damn
saying
good in that
he
fourth
was
quarter.
amazing. But at moments, I want to see him demand the basketball and just. I want to live and die with his shot attempt.
The
truthfully.
moments when your boy Kaysen Wallace was missing a 3.
essentially.
So essentially, you are, but he's wide open.
I
Yeah,
understand.
that's really tough.
I'm not gonna be mad.
I'm not
at, nah,
again.
Come on.
Using your label with Kaysen Wallace, your boy Kaysen Wallace. You know I am a fan of Kaysen
He's
Wallace.
been a good shooter this year
too.
This year though.
This series, he had that one. He had that game in Game 4 where they were able to come back. He struggled in Game 5 and Game 6. I just wanted to see SGA, or I want SGA. Let me not say I wanted, because again, he was awesome. I would want to see in the future SGA be more dominant in that fourth quarter.
SGA was 3 for 5 in that fourth quarter. Jalen Williams took 6 shots. Chet also took 5 shots. So it was kind of a, everyone was getting theirs. Isaiah Joe hit a 3.
You understand what I mean there?
But that's not that shot chart doesn't tell me
Kaysen
that he
missed 2
wasn't
threes.
aggressive. It told me that whenever he collapsed a defense, they doubled him and he had to
if I'm
pass the
kicking
ball.
out to Isaiah Joe and Kaysen Wallace, I gotta live with it.
I can't be like, SGA, take that-
They're 2 of the
take that
best
contested
3-point shooters in the
two-pointer.
league.
It's for the fact that he was so efficient. I'm not upset if he goes and gets his shots attempts to 30, 35. Like I simply can live with that fact of he has been
25 shots.
That's a lot of
That's
shots.
why I say 30, 35.
It was the most in the game
Of course,
on both
which makes
teams.
sense
On both teams.
because he needed to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's what we see a lot with like Jalen Brunson in this past run.
That's
Like,
what I'm
he
saying.
has-
I don't-
Nobody has any issue. We're looking at Jalen Brunson and thinking he's been a top 3 player in these playoffs, arguably top 2, arguably the best, because he's being so aggressive because of team necessity. You needed him to do that.
But
No, that's facts, but I
OKC's
don't.
not as needed as the Knicks
It's
were.
not. It's
But
not,
you
it's
just told me that Dallas was more complete. They had a more reliable number 2. Of course, it is Kyrie Irving, but you're still understanding we have SGA, we have an MVP. He still has been amazing every single game. But if you're not fully trusting in J-Dub in these moments,
But the thing is, I
But
think
that's
you
not the
have
conversation.
you have to trust J-Dub. Like he's your second best player arguably all season. He's super young. He's gonna be in these moments again. Or we're
for
just gonna
sure.
go into the rest of his playoff career being like SJ, I gotta be the guy. Like if he's having an off game, I still gotta bang him hitting the shot. Just like Ant Edwards in this game at Game 7, he gets the open corner in the 3. I want him to take that shot.
The conversation is if SGA is lacking aggression.
another
I think it's a no.
is there a conversation that he has another gear to get to though?
No, he could get better. I don't think that's shot chucking more.
I think the 3 ball is the one area you could look at. Like, he
I
could-
wouldn't even call it shot chucking that
Just
I'm
look
asking
for
him
it
to
more.
do. That's not what I'm asking because
But
his
all
shot
those shot
quality
attempts
is so great.
that you're asking him to take away from other players directly correlating him taking tough shots instead of getting open ones.
He just finds a way to get open so consistently though.
At times, at times he wasn't. That's why
Listen,
he
if,
passed.
he
if
still
his
is a
brother hit his
tough
free
shot
throws
maker.
and wasn't 4 for 7, maybe they win that game.
Who?
SGA.
I
That's
mean,
the one area you could probably
He's
look.
a
not take
90% free throw
know.
shooter in the
Tough game
regular
to shoot.
season.
No, yeah, he should have made those.
57%. Yeah, it's tough.
Luka missed them, and I couldn't hear the end of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that was
the
down the
moment.
stretch of the
moment
game.
the
crazy.
points still matter. What are we
Don't do
doing
that.
here?
A free throw in the first quarter, same
Your
as the
boy
fourth.
fouled PJ too.
That was clean in my opinion.
That was not clean. That was a foul.
He hit ball and
It
obviously
was close.
swiped down.
It was close.
What I respect from PJ is having strong hands because that's what got him the foul because there was no movement in the basketball at all.
Yeah, if he let it go, it would have been clean. But the fact that he held it was a foul.
For sure.
You thought it was a Mickey Mouse foul?
No, not at all. I understand the whistle, especially it was not overwhelming evidence to overturn it either. No, I'm definitely not trying to take that route and saying, oh, that's why Dallas won the game. No, I'm pretty upset because obviously we had a great rivalry at me and Dallas fans, but of course they got it. They're on to the next round.
OKC is fine. They just got to get some role players. I think Josh Giddey is on his way out.
Yep.
And you got to experiment with Lou Dort getting less minutes. You do.
It's so tough to say,
I
though.
mean, less minutes. I think the better way to put it is to find an upgrade over Lou Dort. I think you could find better players than him in this lineup.
Took
How
the
many
words right out of my
Lou
mouth.
Dorts? How many Lou? I guess Caruso.
OG Anunoby would be an instant upgrade.
I don't know if is he
He's
leaving.
free agent.
He's leaving you guys.
He could go wherever he wants. I don't know if we're keeping him or not. We don't have rights.
I don't know. It seems like Knicks
You have
fans
bird
love
rights on
him. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we
automatically.
could match
rights.
stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like he could definitely come back, but I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't know.
It's TBD. But I think Lou Dort's
Do you want OG to walk?
Because all three of you guys left.
Do you want OG to walk?
Hell no.
No, I want to keep him.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's something you have to think about. I mean, he's somebody that has an injury history.
He does, unfortunately.
And how much you want to pay him?
That
What
brother's
if
getting
OK
35.
What if OKC says we'll give you 40 mil?
Yeah.
Like, you're the Knicks, you're matching that.
Would you? I'm asking you.
I would swallow it.
You have
Pause.
to.
Pause.
Nah, resume.
I would
You have to.
I would do it. I would do it.
Isn't
But
that what Jeremy Grant got?
I wouldn't feel great about it. I wouldn't feel great
Hey,
about
Jeremy
it.
Grant's getting 40. No disrespect.
You
I'm
saw
cool
the
with paying
energy
OG.
when OG was on the court.
He hit
Fans love
he hit
him.
those first couple
Fans
shots,
love
bro.
him.
Hit
No,
that
we
three.
do.
I was,
Of course.
Y'all were one of the best teams in basketball when he was on the court.
Yeah, nah.
No, I know. I
I
understand
feel like you
his
got.
value.
Yeah, I agree. You got to, for lack of a better term, you got to swallow it. You got to give him the 40.
But everything comes with a price. You know, who knows what his price is going to be. And OKC has the money to do whatever they want. And they have the picks to facilitate any trade. There are avenues for them to get an upgrade over Lou Dort. There are moments where we talk about teams and we're like, okay, it's going to be hard to replace that guy. Like if Denver loses KCP, that's going to be hard to replace. OKC has the ability because of the assets they have to get a top tier player.
If they do get Caruso, that is a scary look. If you get one of the best perimeter defenders that can really manipulate 1 through 5, he really has that level of impact, is a really solid 3-point shooter, can handle the basketball. That is an unbelievable upgrade. That I'm on board with. Now I can live with the fact of I'm sacrificing one of the best perimeter defenders in Lou Dort himself, but now I'm getting a little bit more consistent offense.
They need some wing depth. I think a good player for them would be like Patrick Williams.
Okay. Hey, package deal. Get Caruso and Patrick Williams.
He's a free agent.
Oh, okay. There you go. He shouldn't command too much.
You take him over Lou Dort?
No. I mean, they're different positions.
I was going to say, just in general, just for the depth.
Oh, it now allows you to have a closing lineup of SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet, Patrick Williams, and then maybe somebody else. It could be Lou Dort, it could be anybody. But Patrick Williams gives them like a legit 6'8" defender who can shoot well. I feel like that's what they need because they have a bunch of guards out there. At some point, they're having lineups of like outside of Chet, everybody's like 6'5" and under. They need some more size to them, and I think a big reason why Dallas won was because they were just a more physical and taller team.
I feel like that's why instead of wing, I'm looking at them getting another center, whether that is bringing in Isaiah Hartenstein. I have to do more homework on how many available centers there are for sure. Claxton makes them OP. If they get Claxton, it's OP. I think that's a better move for OKC specifically than Caruso, because Caruso's amazing in his own right. But you get them Claxton, another guy that's a versatile defender, will hit the glass, can actually play the true 5, and now you can have Chet Holmgren be that roamer, can kind of play that hybrid 4 because he has the ability to stretch the floor out for you. Lord have mercy if they get Claxton.
They're one of the more fun teams this offseason to watch. OKC. But I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this Game 7 last night, man.
Which one?
I want to talk about the one that matters.
Okay.
To be honest. No disrespect, but one was good, one wasn't.
Because that one hurt.
Mr. Dubs, before we do that, just got one last thing to say.
Okay. You kind of let me off the hook today. So if you have something to say, go crazy. I'm telling you.
Luka Doncic, after a year of missing the playoffs last year,
Yes.
got called every name in the book. Was called a losing player. A year removed from a WCF appearance.
Despite the loss, man.
Despite the loss man was the nickname that they coined him.
Great
There
nickname.
you go.
Because he had great numbers, but the Mavericks would lose, right? Some games.
Yep.
Because obviously you have to win to get the 5th seed, right?
For sure.
Arguably had the best individual season of any player in the league this year.
Agreed.
I think it's up there. It's Jokic or him.
Agreed.
That's it. And I think I would favor Luka. Individually, he had the better season. You make it back to the WCF with a brand new team, second time in 3 seasons, beating the number 1 seed both times to get there. He never got recognized for how great of a player he is on a consistent basis because I think for some reason there's this vendetta against European and overseas player from former NBA players. They say, he can't play defense, right? Yet the Mavericks down the stretch of the season are one of the best defenses in the NBA. they're in the conference finals because their defense has been so great, and Luka has been a part of it. There have been multiple games in these playoffs where he has played great defense and on top-end stars at that. All these narratives, I think, were stupid around him, and the fact that he's back in the conference finals when they said he couldn't play with another star, yet his usages went down with Kyrie, and Kyrie has had his best career season since when? We're talking Cleveland days. For sure. This is how good of a season Kyrie is having. Kyrie is in the conference finals for the first time since he played with who? LeBron James. He's not playing with Luka Doncic. And all Kyrie has said is praise Luka for the player and the leader that he is. I'm also very happy for Kyrie Irving, because I was very critical of him when he went to Dallas and when he requested a trade from Brooklyn, and he's done nothing but be the model teammate and the ultimate leader with Dallas, and is the biggest reason from a mental standpoint this team is so resilient. Mm-hmm. This team is a special team, and Luka Doncic showcased this year, in a matter of a year, that all those statements they've said about him were incorrect, even over the course of this season. They have no validity. Tim Hardaway Sr. came out and said that his teammates are filled with joy when he subs out the game because they get to have the ball. Do people not understand that Luka Doncic is one of the best playmakers in NBA history? This isn't a guy who is averaging 30 and averaging 2 assists per game. He's one of the best playmakers in the league. His teammates get open shots. We see that with PJ right now, Derrick Jones Jr. right now, because of what he brings.
Including Tim Hardaway. He just doesn't hit his shots.
So to act like, oh, we finally get the ball when he's out the game, I think it's just something to critique him as a player when we overlook so many things that he does great on the court. And being back in the conference finals, I feel like that's the ultimate slap in the face for everybody doubting him.
He's a quarter of the way to Tatum.
That's also true, but he's very early in his career. He has so much time to accomplish a lot, but a lot of the noise won't be removed off Luka until he delivers a championship. Yeah. Because we all look at Luka and understand the potential that he has. He can be an all-time great. Honestly, he could retire tomorrow. We're talking about an all-time great player, an all-time start to a career. He has honestly been that dominant of a player, but with dominance also, you have to have championships.
Expectations.
And also with dominance, I'm with you. There is expectation. So you need that championship until you get that championship, similar to a Harden, who I feel like is comped to Luka Doncic all the time. And as a player, honestly, I think Luka is more talented. As crazy as that is to say, he's just more talented than James Harden, in my opinion. James Harden got so much slack for not being able to get over that hurdle and not deliver a championship to Houston, or when he was in Brooklyn, although that tenure is a little bit unfair because he was banged up. But he's gotten so much criticism because he has been able to deliver a championship, and he has been at the heights of more than Luka. He does have an MVP, obviously, is a part of one of the better teams that doesn't have a championship in the Houston Rockets. But with no championship, Harden's career kind of gets torn down, even though we understand he's an all-time great. I don't want that to be the same thing for Luka Doncic, but until you deliver that championship, he's going to have so many critics.
Yeah, absolutely. WCF appearance is great. 2 and 3 years is impressive. Last year, got injuries. You had the Kyrie trade midseason, and shout out to Kyrie too, because obviously, wouldn't say he's one of my favorite players, being a Boston Celtic fan, but the way he's been able to turn around kind of his standing in the NBA. He had a lot of issues in Brooklyn, a lot of off-the-court issues that stems from a lot of different areas that he believes in his life, and he's entitled to believe what he wants to believe in. But it's not really what he did in the past. It's what he's doing in Dallas now that I think, number one, Dallas showed faith in him by giving him that extension, giving him that money when there was reports saying, like, what team on the open market would really want Kyrie Irving? It's the Lakers and the Mavericks. There's really not a lot of competition. So I think, number one, it was the Mavericks showing their trust in Kyrie, and this is how Kyrie's repaid him, where he's been professional, he's been able to step up, he's been willing to do really whatever it takes, playing off ball with Luka Doncic, not having any sort of diva moments. He understands that, he's 33 years old. Like, if he wants to win a championship, it's got to happen now. Like, I don't got 5 years ahead of me like I was playing with LeBron in my early and mid-20s where the world was in front of me. I won the best players in the world. I'm in the WCF now. Like, this is my time to do it. So, shout out to Kyrie, and I'm not going to just slight Luka. 2 WCFs in 3 years is impressive, especially teams that people did not believe in that would get here. Like, it's not like you guys are some overwhelming favorites. It's not like you guys like Celtics in the East where it's they're fucking minus 1,000 for every damn series. This was an impressive feat, but you're also looked at as a top 3 player. So at the end of the year, if I'm like, well, Luka made a WCF, I'm like, I'm kind of expecting that, bro. Like, you're one of the best players in the world. I'm expecting that from SG. I'm expecting that from Jokic. I'm expecting that from Luka. Like, Edwards, if you're one of these top players in the league, my expectations is you should be making deep playoff runs almost every single season. And yeah, you're going to go up against some of the best top players in the world, and it's going to run into Jokic. Luka's going to run into SGA, like, especially in the West when damn near fucking 70-80% of the top 10 players are out there. You're going to run into these dudes, but that's how we stack you up. Like, how are you doing these high leverage situations? Right now, Luka's over SGA, which I think everyone had. Now he's got another moment that, although he's over Ant Edwards, you beat this Minnesota team. Now you go into the finals and you have a potential matchup with the Boston Celtics. You could legitimately cement yourself as arguably the best player in the world if you're able to finish this off.
No, it would be an all-time run. How would you feel as a Celtics fan if Kyrie Irving were to beat you for a ring?
I'd think more Luka Tatum than Kyrie, honestly.
Oh, yeah? The Kyrie stuff is done now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like that much hatred for Kyrie anymore, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't feel that way.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
That's all you got. 2 seasons.
No.
Does it sting that he left the way that he did? Sure.
The fact we were able to bounce back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if he would have left us and we were just ass, you know what I mean? Then I'd be tight.
Y'all went to the finals post Kyrie Irving. Yeah, it's all right.
We had more success without him than with him. No disrespect.
Agreed.
But that's a sneaky storyline. A Kyrie Irving going on the road and facing
You got Porzingis
Boston
against Dallas as well.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
That's interesting too.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I feel like Kyrie low-key had averaged 35 in that series.
He struggled in Boston.
No,
I think
has.
he's winless since he's come back to us, or like when he's played in Boston.
What he
it hasn't been good.
Boston?
Nah, he wouldn't average 35.
Okay,
that'd be a tough series for him.
No, it would be. It would be.
Because that last time he matched up in the playoffs versus Boston, he was not good.
No, in the regular season, too, you guys obliterated them when you guys matched up.
Yeah, we won one double digits. The other one was like 9, but we were up big and they made it come back in the fourth. But yeah, because we were talking about that the other day about Derrick Jones. So he's gonna lock up Tatum.
That's crazy.
I had a tweet from 2020 where I said Derrick Jones Jr. could guard Tatum.
2020 is so crazy.
I was just thinking about Derrick Jones Jr. and Tatum. Yo, he could lock him up. I'm not gonna lie.
What team was Derrick Jones on in 2020?
Probably the Heat.
The Heat, I think it was. Yeah. No, Derrick Jones Jr. It fascinates me. I don't know why he hasn't gotten minutes, but whenever he's played, he's impressed me. Yeah. Especially when he was with Miami. I thought that he was gonna make a name for himself.
He made himself
there.
a lot of money this year. A lot of money.
No, without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
So he was with the Heat and he averaged 9 points. Then he went to Portland, and next year he averaged 7.
How many minutes was he getting?
He got 23 minutes a game with Miami, and he got 23 with Portland. Yeah, then he's been in Chicago, and then he was just with Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, these are role players. When you're put in positions to win, when you're put in positions to play your role and not asked to do more than you're capable of, this is the type of stuff that you could do where Derrick Jones is like, I'm going to lock in defensively. I think a lot of what Malik Beasley wanted to do was like, I'm going to be a three-point shooter, and I'm going to be the best perimeter defender on this team. Derrick Jones is just actually doing that. No disrespect to Malik Beasley, but that's kind of the same intention that I think these role players on teams where you already have 2 stars should be.
Yeah, the most important thing is that he's shooting a career high from 3 this year. And that's been his Achilles heel. That's why he's not really able to get on the court because he can't really shoot. Well, you get the looks that Luka generates for you.
Lights out.
7 for 10.
Yeah,
6, right?
He is lace out in his own right, but the amount of space he's getting is also pretty wild.
Yeah, PJ Washington too. I mean, it's open corner 3, damn near every possession if you want it.
But the fact that Dagnout never adjusted and always kept that same mentality of blitzing Luka, blitzing Kyrie. That's kind of one thing. If I'm OKC, I'm looking back and think, should I have adjusted there? Because I know that when we talk about Minnesota and we talk about Dallas in that Western Conference Finals matchup, I'm probably that's one of the main points that I want to talk about. Truthfully, is the defensive looks that these two are going to generate.
Now, the Timberwolves and Nuggets had a historic Game 7 last night. The Nuggets for the wrong reasons. They blew a 20-point lead. The Wolves came back from 20. That's the largest deficit the team has ever came back from in Game 7 history. A round of applause for the Minnesota Timberwolves for doing that.
You did the Lord's work, by the way.
Teams were 20-0 all time with leading 15 points in Game 7 and now 20-21 because of Minnesota. You guys know how big of an Anthony Edwards fan I am. But even I can admit that I think the PR that he gets is a little bit over the top at times.
Okay, fair.
Because this game, he didn't shoot the best. I thought in the second half there was some plays he made that kind of altered the game, like the steal he got, the 3 at the end of the third quarter to go into the fourth quarter, the 3 on the transition when Conley made that steal. But this was about Cat, man.
For sure.
Cat had the game sealing put back bucket.
was amazing.
Nas Reed in the minutes without Cat, when Cat was getting a breather, what he brought both on offense and on defense. He got a huge block on Jokic. This was a total team effort. And Jaden McDaniels, man, now you understand back-to-back 20-point games.
One of them ones.
Now you understand the potential I see. Listen, he could be one of them 20-point game stars. The way he scores the ball, the efficiency, the way he moves. Oh man, he just looks beautiful out there. I wish he would take 5 more attempts per game.
I mean, Jaden McDaniels is going to get those looks on the Wolves. Like, you're going to be helping a shit ton on Ant Edwards. You're going to be helping, especially if Karl Anthony Towns just opening the corner or something. You're going to be closing out hard on him. Jaden McDaniels is going to get opportunities to hit open jumpers. If he's hitting them at a consistent rate, that makes the Timberwolves just their odds to win a championship even higher. This game was crazy. This series was crazy. The one team that I had the most confidence in to not choke a game was the Denver Nuggets. And it really wasn't. There wasn't a second team that was close. They were in a tier of their own when it came to clutch time offense. When it came to teams I just trust in, from players to the coaches to the role players, and they blew this. I mean, from the first half to the second half, it was 2 completely different games. Denver's defense in that first half was what Minnesota's defense base looked in that second half and what they looked like in the first 2 games, where it was probably the best half of basketball defensively Denver played all postseason long. They were super engaged. They were getting good looks on offense. They were able, since they were getting so many stops, they were able to go in transition in that first half. And in that second half, everything changed. I mean, everything changed from Minnesota. They were just so much more engaged, so much more energized. The defensive, what should have been there in that first half actually got there in that second half. And I understand Ant Edwards didn't shoot the best. 6 for 24. Not a great shooting night. But if you're a Wolves fan, if you're a basketball fan, like, this is what a superstar is. When you shoot 6 for 24, when he started, I think, 1 for 7, 1 for 8, like, he could not buy a bucket. But defensively, he was locking, especially that second half, taking the Jamal Murray assignment, hitting clutch shots down the stretch when it was a game and you could hit these shots to get these energy shots in. A lot of players, right? I think a lot of players, we talked about this a ton with James Harden last year. When your shot's not falling, that usually compounds into other negative things on the court. Definitely. With James Harden, when he wasn't shooting well, now he has 7 turnovers. And now defensively, he's even less locked in. Superstars, or when your shot isn't falling, other shit can happen. You could play make, you could play lock up defense, you could rebound the ball, you could encourage your teammates on the sideline. Ant Edwards is constantly doing. Like, I know Timberwolves fans, you want to see Ant Edwards go 17 for 20 or something crazy and drop 40 every single game. But this is what he needs to prove to become like a legitimate top 5 type superstar player in the league. You're going to have these nights. He had one even, I think in the blowout, he did, or not the blowout. It was another game. Maybe I'm thinking of the previous series.
It was versus the Suns. It was
game 4.
I think it might have been game 3.
Yeah, he didn't play great. They still win the game. The defense is still there. Like, Ant's going to have games just like every other superstar in the league where the shot's not falling, the three's not falling, his pull-up is going to be short, the first step to the rim, all of a sudden he's not able to finish over 3-4 guys, pause like he has been all season long. But when you're able to stay engaged and play this high-level defense, eventually the shots start falling. Eventually the basketball gods are like, you've been doing great for 44 minutes. These last 4 minutes, this is you. This is your time. So, I mean, shout out to the Wolves. A 20-point comeback against the defending champions. My biggest question for them going into this postseason was clutch time offense. How would they look in the clutch? Didn't do it a ton against the Suns, but this series, there's been a couple of games where it's been a few points in that last 2 minutes. I'm looking specifically at this game 7, and I'm like, you guys stepped up. Like, this is the shit you have to do consistently to win a championship.
And Drew. It was game 2, 15 points, 3 for 12. And then he had a bad game against Denver. It was game 5, 18 points, 5 for 15.
Now, Joel, every time we talked about series preview, when we talk about X Factors, our X Factor for the Minnesota Timberwolves continues to be one player only, and that is Karl Anthony Towns. If you are getting the best version of Karl Anthony Towns, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, I like your chances against anyone, truthfully. But because we never know the consistency of Karl Anthony Towns, it makes us kind of shaky on the idea of what they truly can be. But when Karl Anthony Towns plays like he did last night, when their best offensive player, and right now their best player in Anthony Edwards is struggling, can you rely on Karl Anthony Towns to go ahead and do a job? And that son of a bitch, man, that guy went out there and he balled the hell out and is, to me, the main reason why they were able to escape Game 7 and now move on to the WCF. Now, I want to talk about what you said also about Anthony Edwards when he is struggling. 6 for 24, obviously a bad shooting night overall, but there's moments that we've seen. The one that sticks out to me is that game versus LA where he shot the ball terribly in that play-in game last year. But on defense, he still was a huge boost for them. Playmaking, rebounding the basketball. The intangibles that alone shows me is something that I would kill for to have on my team. A guy that has an endless drive to win, even when he's not excelling at something that you rely on him for every single night. But like you mentioned, the greats do adjust, and that's how they show their true colors. But the difference in this game to me was, yes, the difference in mindset of how the Minnesota Timberwolves came out in the second half, the execution on the second half, the adjustments that they were able to make. But what really won the Minnesota Timberwolves this game, I should say, were the role players from the Denver Nuggets. And that's talking about MPJ. That's talking about Caldwell Pope. That's talking about Aaron Gordon. And the lack thereof following that, where they really only ran a 6-man rotation with Christian Brown. And honestly, he didn't even play that much. Almost everybody in the starting lineup played over 40 minutes for the Denver Nuggets. This playoff basketball, you expect that, especially when we're talking about one of the best starting fives in all of the NBA. But you have MPJ going 3 for 12. You have KCP and Aaron Gordon going 2 for 5. I understand you live and die with Jokic and Murray, of course, taking the most amount of attempts. If I'm not mistaken, Murray had 35 and Jokic had 34 himself, but it looked like Jamal was saving himself for that last stretch of the fourth quarter where we kind of saw him not be that same aggressive self as he was in the first half, where obviously he was all world in that first half, had over 20 points. But in that third quarter, kind of went into cruise control, and late in the fourth, that's when he started to get his shot attempts back up. But Jokic also wasn't the cleanest that we've ever seen. 0 for 7 from 3 at a certain point in the game. I think finished 2 for 10. Was not the same efficient stuff that we know Jokic has been throughout the majority of this season, but of course majority of this series as well. But wasn't that same aggressive self either, in my opinion. I know he took 28 shots, but a lot of that to me was bad looks and kind of settling also. Like I mentioned, 10 threes from Nikola Jokic. That's playing into the hands of what Minnesota wants you to do. And I'd be remiss, of course, if I didn't mention Rudy Gobert, where honestly I didn't think he played the cleanest of games, but he had moments that were huge. The fadeaway jump shot with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
I would be so pissed off.
One of the craziest shots I've seen in a good amount of time. But losing this game for the Denver Nuggets is honestly unacceptable. You have this lead. You mentioned the record when teams go into the second half winning by over double digits. You have the best player in the world. You have, in the playoff setting over these last 2 seasons, we've seen to be one of the best Robins in all of basketball, arguably the best Robin in Jamal Murray. The duo of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray is regarded by many as the best duo in the game. You can't go out here and lose this game, especially when you had it under such control. But that speaks to the drive and the willpower of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Endless respect to them for doing everything that all NBA fans had wanted. We all wanted to see Minnesota move on to the next round, and it's going to be an excellent series. But if you're a Nuggets fan, this one stings, because I feel like the overwhelming majority felt as if this was your West. And that's with respect to the Wolves. That's with respect to Dallas and Oklahoma City. But you've had the continuity. You have the best player in the league. You have one of the better coaches who we're going to talk about. Honestly, he's going out sorry. Mike Malone, when you're winning, you're on top of the world. You feel like you're all high and mighty. You're the big, you're the hot shit. But when you lose, it's tough to eat that humble pie. And honestly, he looked pretty sorry in that post press conference. Not something that I would be proud of, truthfully. But the Nuggets got to be better. They got to execute better. They, like you mentioned, they've been one of the most clutch teams in all of basketball these last 2 seasons. To see them choke the way that they did was truly surprising. But again, I'm happy for Minnesota. The parity in the NBA is at an all-time high. It'll be 6 seasons in a row now that we crown a new champion. I mean, the league is in great hands.
This is the best when it's this way, when we got new champions. Because I hated when LeBron went to Miami. I hated when Cleveland and the Warriors were in the finals for so many years. Bro. I want to see new teams win, even if it's somebody I don't like or a team I don't like.
Wonder who?
Mister.
Indiana.
Hey, yeah. eight years in a row. He made it look a lot easier than what it is. And Absolutely. I don't want to say that that's more so a stacking the deck thing, more so as a dominance.
No, definitely. And
it's a little bit of both.
Miami was stacking the deck.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Kyrie
Cleveland's
can love.
Yeah.
This is the best team in the West.
Still,
in the East.
Miami
All right,
was-
making
Miami was
making the finals in 2018.
Oh no,
That
100%.
Come on.
But I'm talking about
That ain't no stacking
I'm
the
talking about
fucking deck.
you have it's LeBron and then it's 2 All-Stars.
That's true, but Kyrie only ascended to that next level when LeBron got there.
Nah, bro.
That next level?
Yeah. Next level, yeah.
Well, Kyrie, we all knew
The
was going
potential,
to be
the
that
potential
nice.
was there, but he got
Definitely,
LeBron James, so
definitely.
it's gonna get unlocked.
And I like to say often, the year that we won in 2016, he did not average 20 points in the regular season. He went dumb in the postseason. That's where he cemented himself as one of the league's best.
When did LeBron get to Cleveland?
2014.
2014.
Well, obviously, he went back home in 2014.
Okay, was it? Let me just check these seasons. Okay, so he definitely was 2014, 2015.
Mm-hmm. No.
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
2014,
Yeah.
2015. Yes, correct.
Kyrie Irving was already a 2-time All-Star.
Yep.
And he had averaged 22 a game with 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 44% from the field, 37% from 3. That's a gold star. That's a gold star.
D Wade was just like top 10.
No,
when he
of
went to
course.
Miami. That's why it's like
No,
Kyrie
it was
wasn't
so
top 10.
different. No, it was so different when he went to the Heat.
No,
But
Dwayne Wade was in his prime.
Kyrie was still
Yeah.
amazing. We're not taking anything away from Kyrie. He was amazing.
I'm just saying it's a little bit of both with the dominance and the stacking the deck. He definitely played for teams that were better.
The East was also not at its high point during that time by any means.
It's still
Still
not.
not.
It's still
Yeah,
not. Yeah,
James.
it's trash. The East is it might be trash. It might be more trash now.
You think so?
I don't know.
If everyone's healthy,
I'd have to go
like
year
if
by
you're saying
year.
this specific finals when fucking 80% of the teams got hurt, sure, but I think when everyone's healthy, Boston, Milwaukee, New York, that's a pretty good team.
well,
pretty good East.
I was gonna say, but back then you still had the Celtics with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, KG. You had the.
Oh, it is
I'm saying this Cleveland stunt.
No, I understand. No, I'm just talking about
The second
now
Cleveland
comparatively.
The Cleveland stint, the most
No, I'm talking.
formidable
Oh,
winner was
I'm
the
going.
Raptors.
I started all the way from Miami when you
yeah.
mentioned about
Yeah.
that it might be easier now. Still then you had Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls. Unfortunately, we saw Derrick Rose get injured, but you had the Bulls, you had the Celtics, you had the Pacers. That was another great team. You had the New York Knicks. That's another great team.
I don't know.
That was a great team.
But I don't know if
That wasn't a great
those-
team. That 2012 team.
It was for 1 year.
Yeah.
For 1
Oh
year.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we lost to the Pacers.
I know.
Yeah.
That Pacers team was awesome.
For 1 year, it might have been a little good. The Pacers that year, I think Paul George, he averaged 19 a game.
Mm-hmm.
Paul George wasn't even like at his very best. That team was just a defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that team is probably better than this version of Indiana.
Oh Lord,
No, I think this Indiana team might be better. I'll be honest.
I don't know.
You're saying the Paul George, you got Roy
Yeah.
Hibbert, David West,
Yes.
George
Now,
Hill.
Roy
yes.
Hibbert is not better than Miles Turner.
Prime Roy Hibbert was a fucking problem.
He's not better than Miles Turner, bro.
Prime Roy Hibbert was really good.
Nice to see you on the Miles Turner hype. Good
Roy
on you,
Hibbert
man.
was
He was that
whatever.
season though. He was
whatever.
He was OD that season.
He was always whatever.
On defense, he was OD that year.
That's because he's tall, but imagine him in this game with the space he has to guard.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be trash, bro.
Well, yeah, I guess if you put him in 2024,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
That's the style they play now.
Gotta talk in the era though. Are we gonna be done with the
Pacers
2010s?
team was mad
Are we done with the 2010s now?
Roy Hibbert averaged 13 and 9, bro. That's not moving me.
That's not bad.
That's not Miles Turner.
Roy
though.
Hibbert was not going to go out there and average 30.
Who's the second player in Indiana that's as good as Pascal Siakam?
That's fair.
And then you
That's
have
fair.
Tyrese.
David West
So
was not that player
Paul
anymore.
George or Hallie?
It's close. That version of Paul George, you can argue
That-
with Siakam right
I
now.
don't know. Paul George was going tit for tat with LeBron.
He was.
He was on the rise to like being a star. He had all the potential, but he had never
Isn't that what kind of
had
Hallie is?
he hadn't showcased an entire season.
That's
of,
what Hallie is.
But he showed it in
dominance.
the playoffs, which is what mattered.
Let me look at the numbers that he averaged in those playoffs.
I don't think. Yeah, I was going to say his regular season.
because
numbers
I
are
don't
not
think
great.
his numbers were that crazy. So,
No.
okay, he averaged 19, 7, and 5 in the playoffs, shot 43% from the field and 32% from 3. The other year he made the ECF, he averaged 23, 8, and 4. He shot 44% from the field and 40% from 3.
That's pretty damn good.
Definitely his second year
Yeah.
making it that far, he was great, but like he hadn't been an established guy yet. The talent also now is just better. Like, Paul George at that time was viewed as one of those guys that could like take the mantle. And now like everybody's averaging
In
that.
2014, when he played Miami, he averaged 24, 5, and 4, 45, 38, 70% from the free throw line.
He was nuts.
It's pretty damn good.
He was mad good against
First
us.
time he only averaged like 19. He was also 22 years old. 23.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It just sucks because he got injured right after that.
Yeah.
And then, he kind of had to recover and stuff.
All things considered, I think he came back pretty great.
I just think
for
that, yeah, no, for sure. I just think the East was very weak back then, too. Because the most formidable opponent LeBron faced was who? The Raptors?
No,
with
in
DeMar DeRozan?
in Cleveland, no doubt.
And the Hawks?
In Cleveland, no doubt. It was not good. You're right, the Hawks, Toronto, later the new Celtics. But he also faced them in the ECF with Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, and that was one of the weaker first seeds
that
ever.
was rookie Tatum.
That was when I think the Cavaliers went.
No, with Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
When you had,
So I said
Tatum wasn't there.
no, Tatum wasn't there.
The year before?
Jaylen
Brown.
Rookie
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown. My bad.
I think the Lakers. I think the Cavaliers that year went 12-1 on the way to the finals.
You had Jared Sullinger starting, bro.
That was
Be serious.
2017.
Shout out to Jared Sullinger.
Be
man.
serious, man.
Yeah, that was
Jared
2017.
Sullinger.
Thought he was gonna be something.
Yeah, he looked good.
Thought he was gonna be something.
He went
for
to
sure.
Ohio, right?
Ohio
He was
State, yeah.
good as
Yeah.
hell at Ohio State.
Nah, he was. He really was.
Lefty. It's one of the few reasons I know that.
In this series, Denver's guards and forwards shot 29.8% against Ant. Cat as a primary defender against Jokic, KD, Beal, and D booked these playoffs.
Let me ask you your opinion on him saying that he had the handcuffs on Jamal.
Valid.
Do we
He
have the
locked him up
tracking
in the second
stats
half.
on Ant versus Jamal?
Let me check him.
Game 6.
So Cat, he's holding all these players 37% from the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Nah,
Cat
he's been
Cat
amazing
was
on
good
defense.
as hell on defense.
Let me look at Anthony Edwards because we could definitely get the tracking stats.
Okay, because then I'm interested. I definitely don't want to look at face value. He didn't score 35 on Anthony to people that think that is wrong.
For sure.
But for Jamal having a pretty damn good performance, for him to say that, I am curious in the raw numbers.
Let's see.
So the raw numbers, it's not gonna show me.
When guarded?
It's not gonna show me like game by game.
No, I just want game 6.
For the
seven.
for the series, he held Jamal to 30% from the field shooting.
But can you find the game?
I have.
7?
Hold
It
on,
doesn't
I have
go
the game.
game by game. Just
Really?
one game.
I have the game here.
So, okay.
Hold on. These rows, I wish they just kind of like stayed. Let me see.
What are you on? NBA.com?
Yeah, player points. So in this game, Jamal Murray had. Oh, I lost it. 7 points.
Against,
Again, one guard by Anthony Edwards.
what was his field goal percentage?
Let me see. Field goal percentage. He was 43%.
Okay. How many attempts?
3 for 7.
All right. Only 7 attempts.
He
Okay.
locked him. He locked him for the series.
For the series, definitely. But that game, I mean, Jamal played pretty damn great.
All in the first half.
That's a tough moment.
And in the second half, he didn't really do much.
In the fourth quarter, down the stretch, he tried, but it was too late.
He was sounding him though.
He was. He
Did
was
he
on
get the
his
steal
ass.
off him? Did
No,
Conley get
I
the
thought that
steal
was
off him?
Conley.
it was
Facts.
Conley, but Anthony Edwards was guarding him. Conley came,
Yeah,
and he
facts.
sneaked up on him and got it.
Got his ass.
No, I just thought, again, I respect Anthony Edwards and his trash talk. He does it the right way. You trash talk when you lose, you trash talk when you win. That's the exact way to go about it. But when he struggled himself, he's trying to go and take the silver lining of it, saying, yeah, I mean, hey, I locked their guy. I did my thing on defense. But Jamal had a great game. So I just thought that was a tough thing to say. If I'm Jamal, I'd be sick. Even
That's a
though,
crazy
even
way
more
for
so.
Denver to go out. Like Jokic has a pretty statistically dominated game. We talk about the efficiency though. He was not taking a ton of threes. Started, you said 0 for 7, 0 for 8. Jamal Murray has a great game. Like these are the games Denver not only wins, but she dominates. If Jokic is this aggressive, this is usually the games like that game 5 where Jokic goes out there and drops 40 and looks unstoppable. But you look at the rest of the guys, like Aaron Gordon had 4 points. You know, he was such a key part to this whole
They said
series.
he was the second best player in the series.
And then game 7, he's not even involved. Like they're not getting him the ball. It was, listen, Jamal Murray and Jokic 2-game. It's arguably the best play in basketball. It's been for the last year and a half, 2 years. You can make the argument that is the best pairing in terms of just 1 and 2 guys in a half court setting. They were spamming it every single time. It felt like in this game 7, it wasn't working. Like I know Jamal and Jokic had the numbers, but efficiency wise in that second half, like there's a reason why Minnesota came back. They were living with it because they were taking tough shots. Or if Jokic is going to settle for a 3, Jokic had struggled a ton. Just jump shooting in general this postseason compared to last. Jason Tim put out some numbers like he was over a point per possession in terms of jump shots last year. He was at like 0.8 points this season. So like it really came back down to earth, and the 3-pointers last night just really killed him.
No, yeah. I think when it comes to their collapse, in the second half, it was just rebounding.
For sure.
Minnesota had 29 rebounds. Denver had 15. You look at that I think putback dunk that either Nas Reed had or Cat. No, it was Cat.
It was Cat.
In the fourth,
When they were down by 5.
KCP
I was
could have
gonna
boxed.
say, Nas had one also. Though.
Yeah, it was it was with Cat. I'm pretty sure. Down by 5 points, you
game
have a
sealer,
chance
basically.
to secure a defensive rebound and then go down and make it a 1-possession game.
Yep, that was
and Cat dunks it and he seals the game. You know, those are just you got to close out better. I think when it comes to Denver, some of their weaknesses on their roster got exposed. I believe that this team was never like those juggernauts that we see. You know, it's not the Warriors. It's not as good as them. They're beatable. And, you know, I think they're a little too lackadaisical this entire playoffs. I feel like Denver was too cocky. I think they were too cocky. The way they lost to Minnesota in the first 2 games, not supposed to happen. Supposed to happen.
We did see that kind of light a fire under them, though. They went 3 straight. They got embarrassed in Game 6. That caught me by surprise. But they responded the way that champions do, especially when you go down 2 on your home court. To go win 3 straight, I think that, agreed, they were lackadaisical in the first 2 games, but we saw them really motivated at a point in this series. But they just simply lost their strides in Game 6 and 7. And that's where, if I'm the Wolves, honestly, I feel even better that we kind of went this course of action where we gave them our best punch. They responded with theirs. They won 3 straight. They kind of put it all back on us now. I said it. I thought they had the most pressure to win last night's game because you're up 2-0. Only 5 teams have lost in NBA history after going up 2-0, so you'd be in very big company. The fact that they took the Nuggets' best punch and were still able to move on to the WCF, to have that man be your star at such a young age, show you this much, I mean, just endless credit to Minnesota. And a lot of love to Karl Anthony Towns, who he said in the pros conference, and Anthony Edwards kind of jokingly said, man, fuck those 9 years. But for 9 years, he's been the butt of a lot of jokes to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he's getting the last laugh right now.
Oh, but I think the organization got cocky too, because they thought they could replace Bruce Brown and Jeff Green with their rookies. And Christian Brown showed a lot.
He did.
Payne Watson, you were hoping to develop. I think Calvin Booth last offseason said that he thinks Payne Watson could develop into an even better version of Bruce Brown.
Say that.
And you put a lot of pressure on him. He was a no-show. He didn't really play in this series at all. You got too cocky. You thought, okay, we just got Nikola Jokic. We don't really have to retool. We don't have to bring back Bruce Brown. And then speaking about this other team, it segues perfectly. You can call the Pacers run a fluke, right? They have faced some injured teams. The only reason they are in this position is because they signed Bruce Brown in the offseason. And they traded Bruce Brown for Pascal Siakam. They don't get past the Knicks without Pascal Siakam. Of
course not.
They don't get past the Bucks without Pascal Siakam.
I'm glad you're acknowledging him.
So Pascal Siakam, that was the needle mover for them to, even if they took advantage of the field, that was the difference maker in them making the conference finals and being a first round exit, because Bruce Brown was not doing that.
No. So are we segueing into?
Let's do it.
Okay. This is definitely a fluke run. No way about it. But again, congratulations.
Used to be a Pacers guy.
I did used to be a Pacers guy, and that's why it kind of hurts me.
Malcolm Brogdon, TJ Warren,
Whole different team.
Sabonis were there,
And
Karis LeVert.
and Miles Turner. Miles Turner was
a
a big.
mainstay. He's
That
a
was
mainstay.
that was one of the bigger guys on that team for me, because Rick Carlisle had spoken about if I had to build the ideal center for the future, I look at it, and that's Miles Turner, because he had great shot blocking ability and obviously could stretch the floor the way that he could. And you're right, he was one of the few guys, one of the only guys that they decided to keep on that roster.
And he's averaging 17 and 10 this year.
He has been awesome this season. And again, that
They
also
wanted DeAndre.
who
The Pacers.
I mean, that wouldn't have been the worst duo, but again, you look at the Suns. Indiana caught a break there. This has been a fluke run, and I say that because there's been runs that have been more impressive, in my opinion, that have been called fluky before. The one that comes to mind is Atlanta. You called Atlanta's run fluky, not you, the general public. You did also, but
It was
the
fluky.
general public.
Yeah, for sure.
But they beat a Knicks team who they went in as underdogs. They beat a 76ers team who they went in as clear, heavy underdogs. And you go and you lose to a Milwaukee team, a respectable one, while Trae Young was banged up and Giannis was banged up on the other side too. But you weren't supposed to be there in the first place. Now Indiana. In round one, you face Milwaukee. No Giannis, and Dame misses a game. In round two,
You go up against this New York Knicks team. Mitchell Robinson obviously was banged up coming in. He doesn't play a majority of this series. OG's banged up, doesn't play a majority of this series. Played 5 minutes in last night's game, makes his first 2 shots, crowd's going nuts. He's not able to return back to the game. Josh Hart got hurt at a point in this series, although he played through it. He's a warrior. And Jalen Brunson fractures his hand in yesterday's game and in transition. I mean, an unbelievable string of events for the Indiana Pacers that they took full advantage of, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do. When there's blood in the water, you smell that, you go after it, and you go get it. That's what Indiana has done, and I give them credit for that too. But where I have to give more credit is Tyrese Halliburton. A lot of questions being put on his name in terms of aggressiveness on the offensive side when it comes to scoring. We saw these last couple of games when they were down 3-2. Tyrese Halliburton took full control of this series for his squad. He was aggressive, shooting the basketball very well. I mean, we saw Indiana put on a historic shooting performance yesterday, shooting almost 70% from the field, shooting almost 55% from 3. They were unconscious yesterday. And doing that away in the Garden, I mean, I give them respect for the way that they executed, but the way that it's transpired, it's tough for me to fully sit here and give them full credit that I would want to give one of these underdog teams. Also for the way that they've kind of handled, how I've spoken about it earlier on the show, the way that they've handled their success, especially when their star player, Tyrese Halliburton, is carrying himself the way that he is. You can play well, you can talk your shit, but you do it in a better fashion than the way Reese has done it recently. But again, Indiana, congratulations to you going on to the ECF. And the Knicks, I spoke a lot about Indiana, but I really want to talk about the Knicks. It breaks my heart to see them go out the way that they did. I do firmly believe that they could have been the team representing the East if they were 100% healthy. And that's with respect to the Celtics, but the way that this New York team plays with such togetherness, continuity. Dante DiVincenzo was all world yesterday. He left it all out there, and there had been moments where he'd kind of gone ghost, but damn it, yesterday he tried his hardest to will the team to a victory. Jalen Brunson proven that he's arguably the best guard in the East. In my opinion, he is the best guard in the Eastern Conference. Hartenstein playing himself into over a $100 million contract. He had been awesome all season long defensively, but especially in this postseason. And Josh Hart, who got a lot of these minutes because OG's injuries down the stretch of this season, but Josh Hart showing just, ironically, the amount of heart that he plays with, the drive that he plays with, the fact that he's willing to play 48 minutes a game. This Knicks team was so much fun to watch, and it's unfortunate OG wasn't healthy because we know the success that the Knicks have had when OG's on the court. I believe they've only lost, 3 games when OG is on the court since he's been... Was
they're
it
26-5 when OG plays with Randall and Brunson?
This Knicks team is an amazing foundation that I think that they will be back next year. And I don't want to hear anything about Thibodeau and his lineups. This wasn't a Thibodeau thing. This was just simply freak injuries that unfortunately derailed the Knicks season. But a lot of love to New York, a lot of love to the Knicks. They'll be back, no doubt. But Indiana, it's your time.
I think there are some things you can attribute to Thibodeau. I think OG getting hurt is maybe one of them that could come into discussion.
Soft tissue hammy.
You just had injury history, too.
That's true. Very true.
Probably the one player you should limit.
Josh Hart, the abdominal strain. He's been playing every minute of the playoffs, and you didn't reserve him at all. But outside of that, no, I don't think it's fair. Jalen Brunson, it's just a fractured hand.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, an ankle injury. Bojan Bogdanovic can't control it. With the Knicks, I think this was a great season. I think we showed what we can be when we're at our best. Listen, I think Indiana, this was a pretty easy run for them. They took advantage of their opponents. I think it's fluky, Let's call it what it is.
All right.
It is
fair.
Fluky.
All right, good.
It is fluky, but there's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
And ultimately...
Did you feel this way about Atlanta?
No, I hated Atlanta.
You don't hate the Pacers?
I really don't hate the Pacers like that as much as Atlanta, to be honest. No.
The Suns. I didn't even mention the Suns. The Suns honestly worse than this.
The Trae Young villain arc was worse than this. And
true.
I think there was just more expectations that year in the playoffs because we were favored. We were favored against the Pacers, but it was our first time back in the playoffs in 8 years. There's so much excitement. Okay, we can win. And then Julius Randle lays a stinker, and then Trae Young is shushing us after game 1 when he wasn't shot.
Bro, Reese was so much worse than Trae Young, in my opinion.
Yeah, Trae Young just embraced it to the fullest extent.
But this guy now in a press conference with the Reggie Miller hoodie.
Trey was doing it on the court where he was saying like, yeah, say it.
So was Reese.
Not to Trae Young's extent.
No. Trey was kind of just doing this shit, just telling him to shut up.
No,
But
listen,
Trey was objectively unbelievable.
For me, teams are going to talk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Teams are
for
going to
sure.
talk. It's just, I didn't have as many expectations for the Knicks because of how hurt we were. I felt like definitely in the middle of this series is when I started to be like, okay, you know what? If we don't make the ECF, I would like to make the ECF, but I know if we make the ECF, we don't got a shot. We don't got a shot.
I agree.
We're going to lose in 5 games, and it's going to be over, and our players going to be done.
Especially Brunson's hand is fractured.
Exactly.
He's not playing yet.
So for me, I was just like, as a Knicks fan, yeah, let's make the ECF, even though I know we didn't have a chance. As a basketball fan, I'm like, okay, we're getting a better series. I think we're going to get a more competitive series with Boston, and I think how the Pacers play, yeah, like, right, the path was easy, but you shoot 76% in the first half, and I thought a lot of them were just high-quality looks. It wasn't even like, oh, man, they're hitting some BS right now. No, it was like, yo, nobody's stepping up on defense. Yeah. Wow, they're getting layups. They're getting anything they want. They shot a historic 67% from the field in a playoff game. OG only played 5 minutes, and you talked about smelling blood in the water, Drew. I mean, that's what Pascal Siakam did.
For sure.
He quoted after the postgame that he said, I was gonna test him. He knew he was hurt, and he tested him, and that's why OG after 5 minutes was subbed out the game, because he had 2 big shots that we thought maybe he's going a little bit, but on defensively he could not keep up. He was visibly hurt, and he just couldn't play anymore, and I'm glad he was taken out the game. But yeah, Nick, injuries derailed the Knicks season. There's no doubt about that. But with the Pacers, this is also a team that is the number 1 offense in the league. It's been the number 1 offense in the playoffs. I think the big question mark with them comes on the defensive side of the ball, but they generate offense, man. They generate great open looks, and they can be in a track meet with any team in the league with how they score the ball. And I think with the Celtics, we're going to get into our predictions a little bit later, but I think that's going to be a series that it's going to test the Celtics more than any team that's tested them in the East so far.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunate for the Knicks. Super unfortunate for the Knicks. This was, I said, I think a couple months ago, this was the best Knicks team I'd ever seen in my life. I thought this was better than the Carmelo team that they had in those early 2010 years. This team, you had the star player in Jalen Brunson, you had the coach in Tibbs, you had the role players in Dante and Josh Hart and OG, and just everything was really coming together. Of course, the injuries started to pile up, but I felt even if you have a healthy OG, you got OG, Brunson, Dante, Hartenstein, Josh Hart, as long as you have those guys, like, you could make the ECF. And I thought they were going to beat the Pacers in 5 games. And I think there's a lot of different things you look at in this series. That game 3, when Nembhard hits that ridiculous shot, that gives them life. Of course, you go up 3-0. The series is basically over at that point. This game 7, I know Brunson got hurt. I know OG gets subbed out early, but there's even times in this game that I don't know if it was just injuries that lost Knicks this game. Like in that first half, you were mentioning, Joel, like the Pacers played, no pun intended, with so much pace that we've seen it throughout the series, but this game specifically, after every bucket that the Knicks got, they're pushing out in transition. There was multiple times they were getting layups on the other end, and the Knicks weren't getting back on defense after a made shot. That can't happen. Transition after missed shots as well. And even in that third quarter, bro, I mean, it was a, 15-point game going into halftime. I think you guys cut it to 6 in that third quarter, and you had a 5-second violation out of a timeout. And then you get the pass, another inbound play that the ball gets stolen from you, and they hit back-to-back shots off of that. So, although, of course, you give the Knicks grace because you got injured, I still thought there was an opportunity for the Knicks to legitimately win this game, and that just goes to show, how locked in they really were. This is even with Brunson out of the line. This is with Dante putting up damn near 40 points. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Knicks ran out of bodies. It's really difficult to ask the 9th and 10th man on the bench at this point to be like, all right, you haven't played in a month, but now it's time to get in the game. Alec Burks was damn near your second best player, probably was your second best player outside of Dante last night. But it was unfortunate because I thought a fully healthy Knicks team versus a fully healthy Celtics team, that would be a battle. Especially New York, Boston, 2 of the biggest sports teams in the world. That would have just been so great for the league. And Indiana is too. I don't want to take anything away from them because you only can play who's in front of you. And you take advantage of that. If you would have lost to the Bucks who didn't have Dame and Giannis, we would have been clowning y'all. If you would have lost Game 7 to a team that lost Jalen Brunson in the second half, we would have been clowning y'all. So I just want to keep it consistent that if we're going to shit on you for losing games, I got to give you some credit for winning games. And being able to make it to the ECF, the way Halliburton had really bounced back, specifically in this round, kind of the second half of this round, after he had some real stinkers where he just really wasn't shooting the ball and he wasn't being aggressive. He was going halves with one shot attempt in the second half earlier in this season, in the series. But this game, previous games in Game 6, he stepped up big time. To have both of these series, the Wolves and the Knicks, both be up 3-2, or Nuggets and Knicks, I should say, both be up 3-2, and the opposite team ends up coming back and winning both of those series. I think it's like 80% of teams end up winning those.
Interesting.
I mean, the resilience on both of those teams is crazy. I think one is more due to injury than anything, but I'm excited for this this Pacers Celtics series. We're gonna get into the preview later, but I think they have some things that are gonna bother Boston. You know, the pace is gonna bother Boston, the ball pressure is gonna bother Boston, and Boston's minus 1,000 or 1,100 going to the season for this series for a reason. But I think there's gonna be things that you're gonna poke some holes in Boston's armor for sure.
And now Porzingis is not going to play for the first 2 games, probably,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
so,
that's already he's already been ruled out.
Yeah, so that in itself, it's like if he's not playing, it gives the Pacers a chance.
Mm-hmm.
It gives the Pacers a real chance.
One day we're gonna get to the root of why you hate the Boston Celtics this much.
No, it's not hate. It's just going matchup for matchup.
I see the grin on your face.
There's
Who
not
you
a big
fooling?
talent gap, bro.
Between who?
If Porzingis is not playing for Boston, between the Pacers and the Celtics,
Not really. Not really.
if you go matchup
Drew,
for matchup,
Derek.
I'm talking about just
Jalen, Tatum.
how the Pacers match up on defense. Like,
We're gonna get to that I don't want to spoil
Yeah.
the poll preview now.
I'm
We could get to
sorry.
that. We could get to that.
no, yeah, but I don't think. I think they got a chance. If Porzingis doesn't play, yeah, they got a
Yeah,
real
Porzingis
chance.
does make them OP. I don't disagree at all. He makes them OP, which is one of the reasons why they've had one of the best regular seasons we've seen. But even still, matchup wise, come on, dude.
Halliburton might be back, bro.
He's back.
He's
If
looking
he's
like he might be
back, I'll respect him. I might give him an extra game if he's back.
He's looking like he's kind of getting to that territory.
Good. That's kind of what
Yeah,
you've
nah,
been
he looked-
waiting for
he looked great
since
this
Siakam's been brought in.
And if he's playing at his best, I think it gives them a chance for sure.
This is also a different defense he's gonna be going up against because of
yeah.
the injuries to New York. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna get thrown at some different level defenders than he was against New York.
One last thing I'll say about the Knicks. Because of injuries to our team and because of Randall really not being here for the playoffs, I think it's going to showcase to us how the Knicks feel about the team. They could decide to run it back and just say, hey, listen, we were hurt, but if we were healthy, we could go all the way. In my honest opinion, I think we need one more thing. This core, even if Hartenstein and OG come back, I think a lot of things have to go right for us to win it all and win the championship.
Are you moving off Julius Randle this offseason? Yes or no?
If there's an upgrade available, yeah. If there's not, no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you have to move off a couple players.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just going to be Julius Randle. Julius Randle is going to be the centerpiece maybe of a trade package. But you need another star. You need another star. And I think even with the injuries to us, you need another star.
I agree.
And it's as simple as that.
If the star you acquire is named Mikal Bridges, would you be pleased or displeased?
No, it doesn't push us over the top.
Okay.
It doesn't. You think it does?
I don't know if it pushes you over the top, but your defense gets drastically better because now he gets to focus back on defense like he once did in Phoenix. You still get that boost offensively. He still can give you 16 to 18 points.
He fits.
No, he fits. I think we're better with Mikal.
Of course. I
But-
think that's obvious. Not saying you're saying that at
But
all.
nah, bro. Like, I don't think we're winning it all because of that move.
I mean, it's tough to find any move that's not Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell level. That's
I'm
maybe
trying-
like
I'm
a
trying to
favorite.
think. I'm trying to think of something not over the top.
it got to be KD. It got to be one of those top end guys.
I
I'm not
get
gonna
it.
lie.
I mean, to make you guys to go into next season and be like,
But the thing is, you
We're winning
have one of those
championship,
top end
yeah.
guys already. Like that's how we need to view Brunson. He is. I don't have to tell you that he's already
he
one of
needs a
those
but
high
he
end
needs a
guys.
co-star. And Brunson needs a co-star like near or at his level.
yes, He's kind of like the Dame of what Dame was a couple years ago, where like, Dame is a great player, but he's not quite top 5.
And CJ's not good enough
8,
to be able to be like, all right, Portland's a real team. And also having 2 like small guards.
Yeah. I just think that if you look at the Knicks, they would have 2 amazing wing players in OG and Mikal. This is me thinking best case scenario. You would have, if you were to be able to keep Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, God willing, if he's healthy. I don't know what would happen with Julius Randle. Let's pretend he doesn't exist in this idea. You would have Josh Hart also coming off the bench, which is supposed to be his role. Dante DiVincenzo, who was amazing for you, one of the better 3-point shooters this season, and Brunson as one of the best players in the league.
It's a great team.
It's a great team.
I don't think we're better than Boston.
I don't think so either. You need I think someone with more.
I wouldn't say you're
offensive
better
punch.
than Boston either.
There's just so much on Brunson's plate right now, and a part of that is because of Julius's injury.
They could defend the Celtics amazingly with that lineup.
Yeah, but it's just
Not if Brunson is involved in actions.
which he would be
Okay.
almost every time. I could guarantee that.
Mm-hmm.
You need more of an
Yeah.
offensive punch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think the identity to build a team around Brunson is defense, because you're not going to maximize or get the maximum output of a defense if he is one of your best players.
Mikal's not a bad offensive player. I know you know
No, he's
that.
not. But like, we need a legitimate bucket getter.
Mm-hmm.
We need somebody that could break down defenses on a consistent basis and just get a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ideally, Paul George is not bad. I would like Paul George.
That'd be lit.
Yeah, I think Paul George would be good. But
Fuck yeah, that'd be awesome.
somebody that could just take a defender off the dribble and create for himself while we have all the shooters.
In this world, that Julius is gone.
Yes.
In this world, he has to go.
Okay. But I don't think it's not urgent.
So you're back on my wave.
I would definitely
Knicks?
I would definitely like to keep Julius and bring in a guy like that.
But then how are we keeping OG? Hartenstein. It gets tough.
You're not going to be able to keep Julius.
Because Hartenstein might have played himself to 25.
OG could start at the 2.
OG's probably touching 35.
So you're moving off Dante?
Dante's locked for
comes
another
off the
3
bench.
years.
Oh, okay.
So like
Dante's locked.
Yeah.
One of the best
I'm saying
contracts in basketball.
Is he getting traded? That's why I'm
no.
like,
If we
Dante
were
out
to
the
just
lineup.
like add in a player from free agency, then Paul George. Paul George could play the 2 or 3. You have Brunson, Paul George, OG, Randall, Mitch.
That'd have to be a signing trade, though.
And
No?
so you're saying Hartenstein's
Yeah.
gone.
You don't have straight cap space to sign him.
If we
I'll be honest, bro. Julius is
make
gone.
it happen.
Julius
yeah.
is gone.
I'll be honest.
For
I'd
money
say
sense
Julius is gone.
And for fit
For the
sense.
sole fact of, you mentioned Mitchell Robinson. You can't rely on him.
No.
You can't rely on
Unfortunately, you
him.
can't.
You kind of have to go into next season understanding we were able to accomplish this much without Julius. He's helped be one of the first pillars to get us back into a winning organization. We appreciate everything you've done for us. We need to do everything we can because we know Brunson has 2 years left on this God-sent contract before we have to give him a supermax.
That's why you got to trade for a star now.
I agree.
Until that happens. Listen, I want Devin Booker. I think Devin
Ideally.
Booker on the Knicks. If we can slot him in a 2 and you have Brunson, Booker, OG, and then whoever plays the 4, and then you have, Hartenstein or whatever, or Mitch.
Play OG
starting,
at the 4. What do you think about that?
we could do that. I mean, if we're starting
Hart
or Dante, one of those.
You got to trade someone for Devin
Yeah.
Booker, brother.
Yeah,
Someone's
yeah.
got to go.
Honestly, no, yeah. We got to trade.
Dante.
Dante got to be in it. Mitchell Robinson might be in it.
Honestly, that's
But that means you have to re-sign Hartenstein if Mitch is gone.
Yes. So, no,
It's tough.
I wouldn't be mad if the
but
team
then-
was Brunson, Booker,
it gets so tough with
OG.
the Knicks because
and Hartenstein.
in that scenario, now we're adding a supermax contract on our books with Devin Booker. We're gonna bring back OG. That's 35-40. Now we have to bring, like you just mentioned, Isaiah Hartenstein back. That might be 25,
And Brunson's
and
due.
then Brunson in 2 years. That's 50 at least.
Yeah, you're second Abrams pretty quick.
Listen, man,
So quickly.
winning a championship is hard.
It's expensive.
And you got to make
God.
a lot of sacrifices to
I
do
agree.
it.
I'm just trying to think of ways how it would be able to happen on the cap.
It's just there's no possible way the Knicks can get another type of player like that without giving up a lot, and then or going over the taxation.
And then when you give up a lot, I mean, that's when you see you all of a sudden have vet minimum guys, and you don't have the luxury of having Dante step up and give you 40 because you're not able to play him now. It's Alec Burks getting 25, 30 minutes, who's a good player in his own right, but Dante had multiple games this playoff run where he stepped up for the Knicks.
This week in the NBA, the NBA All Rookie teams came out. First team was Wemby, Chet, Brandon Miller, Jaquez,
Step back
AirPods.
3. AirPods.
All Rookie second
Lively
team.
snapped.
Lively,
Crazy.
Amen Thompson, Keontae George, Kaysen, and GG.
I don't have too many discrepancies
So no
with
Scoop?
this at all.
Who
Scoop,
else
rightfully
did I
so,
miss
didn't
out?
make it.
Yeah.
Asar.
Asar, yes.
Asar
Because
didn't
I
make
remember
it.
being between Keontae and Gigi.
Keontae making it with poopy butt efficiency honestly shocked me. But again, he had a lot of points per game, especially for a rookie. Not too surprised that he's here. Trace Jackson Davis not being here, that's my biggest snub personally. I think that he was one of the better players for the Golden State Warriors. I think that I expected him to be here, but AirPods being first team all rookie, that's a bit crazy. But all these players to me are deserving in their own right. Derek Lively, especially for missing games as much as he did, he had himself a hell of a ball season. He needed to be in this squad. Asar's injuries, unfortunately, kept him off this squad. But I think if he plays a whole season, guaranteed he's in here. Happy for Kaysen. Happy for Jaime. And, of course, the other starting guys in the first team, those are all obvious. We knew Vic. We knew Chet. We knew Brandon Miller would be there. A lot of these rookies had awesome seasons, and a lot of them have a lot of potential that we're looking forward to in the future.
All NBA this week, right? Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
It's coming out, right?
Yeah.
All NBA teams.
Yeah, I think Lively was snubbed.
Yeah,
First team?
First team.
Agreed. I would swap Pods and him.
Then it would be perfect. Second team, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, Trace Jackson Davis could probably make it over like Keontae George or something.
Definitely.
Correct.
But yeah, I think it's pretty much accurate outside of the first team.
My this week in the NBA, Synergy put out this pretty cool post. They looked at all NBA playoff performers through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Okay.
So they are measuring here who's outperforming their contracts. So can you guys give me the top 10 players who have outperformed their contracts in the NBA playoffs?
Very easy. Jalen Brunson.
Number 1.
Dante DiVincenzo.
That's number. Has to be 2. If it's not 2, this list stinks.
I do not think Dante is on this list. He is not.
I honestly don't know a better role player.
TJ McConnell.
Contract.
TJ McConnell's 13.
Okay, outplaying their contract now. So really sit and think through the first 2 rounds.
Derrick Jones Jr.
Okay.
He's not on this list.
What?
PJ Washington.
PJ Washington is not on this list.
Dude, what's happening?
What's up with this
Aaron
list,
Gordon.
man?
Aaron Gordon is number 2.
Yes.
Oh, that's foul.
Yeah. I mean, he balled.
on.
He balled.
Come on.
But no, him not being on that list.
I'll
is
say
insane.
those are the only 2 players making over $20 million on this list.
Oh, so everybody else is minimal money.
There's one person getting 19.9. Or
Derek
2
White.
guys. Derek White is number 5.
Yes. Is Nemhard here?
Nemhard. Let me see. He is not.
Teams that lost in the first round, do they count?
I'm asking. That's interesting.
Let me see. Are there any first round exit teams? There are not.
Okay, good.
That is good.
That narrows down the playing field.
So everyone's making almost nothing.
Less
All right,
than 20
Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
He is 15.
Thought that was a banger.
Josh Hart.
Josh Hart is number 6.
Great job.
None of these are super.
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Isaiah Hartenstein is somehow, some way not on this list.
Deuce McBride.
Great answer.
Not on this list.
Okay.
I'll say everyone in the top 10 is making at least $11 million.
At least
Pam Pritchard.
No.
Neesmith.
Neesmith is number 10.
I'm trying to think of Pacers now.
Josh Green.
No.
He didn't play that well.
Come on.
He didn't play that well.
You guys have 1, 2, 5, 6, and 10.
Anybody from OKC?
OKC, yes.
Dort.
Lou Dortz.
That's
Respect
cap.
him. Respect
That's
him.
cap.
Respect him.
Now we know this is cap. He was mid.
Blame Synergy. Let me see if I could find
No
their
rookies?
exact wording. No.
Okay, good.
So Christian Brown?
Christian Brown, no.
No. Okay. How many
KCP?
players do we have?
Because he didn't play that well.
KCP is number 8.
What the f?
So we have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. You're missing 9, 3, and 4. Be honest, these are all
Gimmies?
these players have played pretty damn well.
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner is
Okay,
number 4.
That makes sense.
Obi Toppin.
No Obi.
He played well.
Ben Shepherd.
No Ben
Isaiah
Shepherd.
Jackson.
No. They're making all these guys are making at least 10 mil.
Pascal Siakam.
No Siakam.
I was gonna say that would be. He's making a good amount.
Drew Holiday.
No Drew Holiday.
Al Horford.
Al Horford's 12, sorry. So the actual wording of this is synergy player impact above +1.
Max
And salary
Strus.
below 25 million. So the
I
top
wasn't
guys.
counting the Cavaliers. Good shit.
Max Strus, no. There are no Cavaliers.
Okay. Reason why I
Playoff
wasn't
droppers,
thinking of-
man.
Number 3 and number 8, you're missing.
The
I'm upset.
Dallas
I've named so many
Mavericks.
players.
Daniel Gafford.
Daniel Gafford, number 9.
Okay, that's.
Took a long time to get some.
Number
But,
3, last
got him.
player. He has been eliminated.
He has been
All right,
eliminated.
good looks.
So this is on Denver or OKC then.
Are they Jamal?
No Jamal.
Are they implying Jokic is underpaid?
No.
Okay.
Justin Holiday.
No Justin Holiday.
Should we get off the Nuggets?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go to OKC.
This player's been eliminated. Been eliminated.
God damn it! This is pissing me off. I've named
He's-
so many players.
He's a great player.
OG.
OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
There
Oh, wow.
he
I
is.
thought we would have
Number
named
3.
him already.
So the top 10, this is synergy +1 player impacts. Don't ask me how they get that. Making under 25 million and outperforming their contract. Brunson is 1, Aaron Gordon is 2, OG is 3, Miles Turner 4, Derek White 5, Josh Hart 6, Lou Dort 7, KCP 8, Daniel Gafford 9, Neesmith 10. Some other guys, Chet, Al Horford, TJ McConnell, Jalen Williams, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Sam Hauser.
All right, that was a painful one, but a great this week in the NBA. My this week in the NBA might be a little bit easier for you guys. Now, we've seen some unbelievable offensive outputs this postseason. Now, my question to you guys, there are 22 active NBA players that have scored more than 30 points in a game more than 15 times in their career. Can you name me these 22 guys?
LeBron James.
LeBron James is obviously number 1 at 122 games.
Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic is here at 21 games where he did that.
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant is number 2, 77.
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry is number 3 at 58.
What was the minimum games?
So
James
it's
Harden.
15. Yes, you have to have more than 15. James Harden is number 4, 48.
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook is here at 29, 30 ball games.
Paul
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard's number 5 with 35.
George.
Paul George is here with 21 games.
Nikola Jokic.
Nikola Jokic is here with a surprising amount, number 32. He's in the top 10. Already, I say.
That's crazy.
Giannis.
Giannis is number 6 with 33 games.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker is here with 21, tied with Luka Doncic.
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell is here with 25.
Have we gotten the top 5? Well, have we gotten
Yeah,
the
oh
top
yeah,
5?
you did get the top 5.
Okay, just
if I'm not
making
mistaken.
sure we're not missing any obvious ones.
Damn it.
Don't remember if we said
I
his
don't
name.
remember if you said his name or not. Did you say
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie
say
Irving
Kyrie.
is here at 18.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis is here with 23.
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum's obviously here. He
Disrespect.
has
Disrespect.
26.
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid has 21.
Dame. Did we say Dame?
Damian Lillard is here with 23.
Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson is not here.
First miss.
That's strike 1.
First
You get 2
miss.
strikes. You get 3 strikes. This is relatively easy.
Let's think. Is Blake Griffin still considered active?
Are you gonna use this guess?
Because he did retire.
Do you want to use this guess?
We have more names to get through.
All
before
right,
we
I
get- before we
agree.
get
I
to Blake.
agree. I agree.
Trae Young.
Trey Young is not here. He's at 12. Jalen Brunson's at 14, by the way.
Jimmy
The
Butler.
minimum's 15. Jimmy Butler is here at 23. Listen, you're at 2 strikes.
How many more do we got to guess?
Loki, I feel like a decent amount.
You've gotten a good portion
That's
of
true.
them.
We did go bang for a minute. Pause.
1, 2, I think only 2 names left.
Oh, okay. So let's think about this. Boston, do we think Jaylen Brown's on this list?
Could be.
Knicks, probably no one else. I don't think Randall. We did Damon Giannis already.
You said Paul George already?
Yes, you did say Paul
say
George.
Paul
He
George.
has that 21.
We said Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
No one on the Magic.
We haven't said Cat.
We have not said Cat. No one on the Pacers.
Kevin Love, still active.
Kevin Love is a great name. Kevin Love is a great name. He's been playing for like fucking 15 years. He's got to be on there.
Oh, apologize. You have 1, 2, 3, 4.
DeMar?
Yes, 16. Cook.
Okay, I was
That's
asking
good.
you, but I'll take that.
That was a great answer.
DeMar
DeRozan.
DeMar.
So okay, just guessing names right here. Paul George, Brandon Ingram.
All right, I'm just gonna get this. You guys
I
said
think we could
Kawhi.
lock-
You guys said
we
Kawhi.
said
right?
Kawhi. We
did- we
Okay,
did
I
say
thought
it.
so. All right, so
Yeah.
you have the top 10.
Okay. I
Paul George,
think we could lock in Paul George.
Julius Randle. We already said Paul George, right?
Oh, we did? Okay.
Did you lock in Jaylen Brown or you didn't say Jaylen?
I have not said Jaylen Brown yet.
Cat can
Cat.
be 1, 2.
Yeah.
All right, so you have the first 17 players.
Okay.
Okay, you're missing 18. You said Kyrie already.
Yes.
Okay, you're missing 18. You're missing
30-point games?
Yep.
How many?
Bro just realized what the fucking thing was.
I said you need 30. You need at least 15 30-point games to meet this requirement.
Oh,
I feel like JB's have 15.
bro, this is easy. Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal averaged 30 for a season, brother.
In the playoffs.
Oh, in the playoffs?
Oh, I did not hear the playoffs.
No, I didn't
part.
hear it in the
I
playoffs.
said
either.
this whole thing has been playoffs.
Oh, shit. That
I'll
narrows
be
it
honest,
down.
we rattled all these off,
Yeah.
not naming no playoffs.
I didn't know it was the
I
playoffs.
said you think LeBron only has 122 active?
I'll be honest, I wasn't really listening to the number you told me. Okay, 30-point games.
You guys are
Has
smacked.
JB had 15 30-point games?
That's a lot.
I mean, he's been in a shit ton of games.
Well, we know it can't be Cat now.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Can't be Randall.
You're missing 18, and you are missing 21.
Are we missing anyone on these bad teams?
Low key.
They're in the playoffs. They've had multiple, at least 15 30-point games. You have to imagine they're.
Clay. We didn't say Clay. Clay Thompson.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes, he is number 21. He has had 17 of these games. Now you're missing one.
Missing one. We said AD, right?
Chris Middleton is a sneaky answer, but I don't want to waste our pick.
This
on
is
that.
your last strike, and I don't feel bad. So you guys are gonna have to settle on an answer.
What do you mean? I didn't say Chris Middleton.
No, why I don't feel
was
bad.
talking
No,
to
I'm
him.
not giving you. I'm not saying Chris Middleton counts as your guess, but I'm saying I don't have any sympathy for you guys if you do get this wrong because you guys haven't known the.
I did not hear
project.
playoffs.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't realize playoffs either.
Okay.
Okay, so Jaylen Brown comes to mind.
Okay.
I think
Did we say Jamal Murray?
we have not said Jamal Murray.
Yo, low key.
But he hasn't played in a lot. You said 15 they need to play.
At
15,
least
30.
15.
He does,
He's played in a lot of playoff games.
he had 15,
He
30
made
point
the second
games?
round his first time in the WCF, then finals run, and then these games.
15.
I don't know if it's 30. I mean, if at least 15. I don't know. Let's go down because I think we can maybe find a better one. Maybe
Jamal Murray. Chris Middleton is a good one too that you mentioned. Kevin Love's still a good one that you mentioned. But still, a lot of Kevin Love years are with, him with LeBron and shit that he's not getting 30.
Anthony Edwards is not a bad guess.
15? Come on, bro. He's played like 15 playoff games.
We said Russell Westbrook. We said James Harden. We said Paul George and Kawhi. We said Luka. We said Kyrie. We said KD. We said D-Book. We said LeBron. We said Anthony Davis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we said Anthony Davis. It can't be Zion. It can't be Brandon Ingram. CJ McCollum, sneaky, but
Sneaky.
keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Warriors.
We said Steph and Clay. And
I'm gonna say this to you guys. It's a name you've already said.
I'm not
So it
surprised.
can't be Chris Paul.
Okay.
Chris Paul's already. You already said Chris Paul.
Oh, we did? I didn't say it, did you?
Oh shit! Well, all right, fuck. I thought you guys did say Chris Paul.
I definitely did not say
All right,
Chris
so then you
Paul.
guys technically had two. He is tied with this player. You've already said his name.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's JB. It's Middleton. Those are the two I'm really between.
Well, listen, I think it could be Jamal Murray too, bro.
Jamal Murray's the third, yeah.
So if we're gonna go between Jamal Murray and Jaylen Brown, who would we go with?
Middleton, no way.
Middleton is close. It's close because he averaged 26 on a finals run.
JB's played in more games, but also like Jamal's played in more games and has scored more points, like a points per game average. I'm sure he's over JB.
Yeah, he's averaging 26.
Yeah, because young JB, I mean, he was in a lot of playoff games, but he wasn't doing what he's been doing these last 2-3 years. Because, yeah, JB, I mean, for being realistic, like, it's really 2020 on for him where he was really that dude. One of those years he didn't even play because he was hurt. So you're talking about 3 runs for him.
I'm going to give you guys until this podcast hits 155, which is approximately 20 seconds to decide on who this last person is.
All right, what do we think? JB or who was that?
Jamal Murray. Let's go with Jamal Murray.
Fuck, he said it.
The correct answer is Jamal Murray with 18 games.
Good
yes.
pull. Yeah. Where do you have Jaylen Brown?
Jaylen Brown was not on this list. So I won't read it because it's 22 names, but the only active players to have more than 15 30-point games in the playoffs: LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Russell Westbrook, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Jamal Murray, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, and wrapping up that list, DeMar DeRozan. I told you it'd be relatively easy. You guys bodied a good amount of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. I probably would have thought about it more if I thought the playoff thing was.
All you guys have to do is listen. All you have to do is listen.
Yeah, because I was just naming names. I thought it was regular season. I was like, oh, this is easy.
Jaylen Brown has 11 30-point games in the playoffs.
Which would make him tied with, just under, I should say, Trae Young and Middleton.
Yeah, and
Middleton has 12.
2 came prior to 2020, so yeah.
I knew Middleton ain't had a volume to do that. And he's not the type of scorer either. It's like 22 a game, you know.
Even though in that finals run, he was their closer.
Oh, no, he averaged 26. That was a great run.
He was dumb nice.
Hey,
that's one of the
few
few times.
That was really like a fluke run for him, right?
I mean, I feel like since then and that game versus the Heat, when Giannis was out and he played out of his mind to keep the series alive.
Yeah.
Since that moment, we've seen him be a pretty good playoff performer. Honestly, I do feel that way.
Conference finals prediction.
Here we go.
One of these is easy as sin for me. The other is also easy.
Wow. We made it to this point, fellas.
Long season.
Wish River was here.
Went by fast.
4 teams are remaining. 4 teams. The Wolves, the Mavericks, the Pacers, the Celtics. Let's talk about the Mavericks versus the Timberwolves first. The best defense in the NBA against the...
You don't want to just get the Celtics and the Pacers out the way, save the main event
No, it's
for
fine.
last.
It's fine.
Put the main event last.
You really want to?
I don't care. I'm very intrigued on who you're taking though. You've been
that's
hyping
why.
this up.
That's why you put it last.
It's been all the social medias.
Oh my
the picks
God.
coming tomorrow. Tune into the podcast.
I still have no idea who I'm choosing. I'm giving you a whole next segment to decide. Let's just go with the easy conversation. Let's talk about the Pacers and Celtics real quick. I say that because, again, this is the series that I do have the easiest time making a prediction, and it is going to be the Boston Celtics for me. Now, if Tyrese Halliburton is playing the way that he played in the last 2 games of this Knicks series, I will give them a respectable loss in 6 games. But right now, my mind's still leaning with Boston in 5. But to play it safe and respect Tyrese Halliburton and, of course, Pascal Siakam, I'll give this a Celtics in 6. The Boston Celtics have been obviously the best team in the Eastern Conference, arguably the best team in basketball, number 1 in offense, top 2 in defense, number 1 in net rating. But this series, they're going in there without Kristaps Porzingis, one of the main reasons we've seen them be one of the more dominant teams that we've seen in a good amount of time. Jason Tatum started to figure it out a little bit in these last couple of games versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jaylen Brown has been playing some great basketball. Derek White has been arguably their best player in this postseason so far. Obviously, Drew Holiday being an efficient 3-point shooter, being one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. Still, Al Horford being the most reliable 37-year-old center that we've seen in a good amount of time. This Boston Celtics team is coached by Joe Mazzulla, who has proven to be he has proven this season that he is one of the better coaches in the league. I give him a lot of credit. Payton Pritchard has been great off the bench for them, obviously.
I just think that they are too much. They have too much firepower offensively and defensively. They do match up well with the Pacers, but let's not slight the Pacers. We've seen Nembhard, we've seen Naismith, Pascal Siakam obviously has been great for them. Miles Turner was awesome this season. TJ McConnell as arguably the best backup point guard in the NBA playoffs this season. He's been playing excellent. There's been moments where some people argue, should he be the point guard? That's how much Tyrese struggled early on in this Knicks series, but Tyrese answered the call in Game 6 and Game 7. So this team obviously has earned a right to be here to a certain degree. Rick Carlisle has been a great coach, but I just look at the Boston Celtics and I just think that they're just the better, more well-rounded team. So I will be going with Boston in 6 games.
If the Heat beat the Celtics last year, why can't the Pacers do it this year?
All right, pick them.
8th-seeded team.
Pick them.
Beating the Boston Celtics. It wasn't supposed to happen last year.
Agreed.
This year, maybe something similar can happen. Last 4 matchups, the Pacers and Celtics are 2-2. Average margin of victory of 6 points. When the games mattered the most, what happened? You remember what happened?
When was the last time we played? Was it like December?
I think it was January 30th.
I would say we haven't played them in a minute.
In-season tournament, chips on the line.
They smoked
for
us.
the regular season prize.
They smoked us.
Pacers came out on top in that ugly, hideous Indiana court.
Yeah, fuck.
There's a chance. Listen, no Kristaps Porzingis for games 1 and game 2, most likely. First in points per game in the playoffs, first in field goal percentage, first in 3-point percentage, first in assists per game, over 6 more than second place. This is going to be a tough offense to guard for Boston. The key for them is to keep this a half-court game. When you are running in transition, you are playing into the hand of how Indiana likes to play.
For sure.
I think with the Pacers, I struggle to see how they're going to match up defensively consistently. But I think after looking at it, I don't think it's too bad. You have Nembhard on Derek White. You have Siakam on Jason Tatum. You have Naismith on Jaylen Brown. You have Miles Turner on Al Horford. I don't think they match up terribly against you guys. But then it's Tyrese Halliburton. Who's he guarding? Probably Jrue Holiday. But Tyrese is the one that Joe Mazzulla is going to try to pick on. He's going to try to abuse, get him into a lot of actions because he's the biggest liability defensively in this lineup. But listen, I think the Pacers have some advantages. They have a bench advantage with McConnell, Obi, Isaiah Jackson, Ben Shepherd as rookies play really well. I got the Celtics in 6, but the Pacers, I ain't going to count them out. No, I don't think the Pacers could be counted out.
Great reveal.
I think there's basically 2 different ways. I think Joel and I are kind of going to have this because I also think the Celtics win this in probably 6 games. I think I'm teetering between 5 and 6.
7.
One way you could say is how Joel just, kind of put it like they match up well. You do player X to player Y. They match up. There's no real liabilities. Of course, Halliburton's going to get involved. And then the reveal comes Celtics in 6. Mine's going to be a bit different. I think the Pacers are going to find ways to annoy the Boston Celtics. Getting now in transition, I think Boston has a tendency to sometimes be slow, sometimes be sluggish on both sides of the ball. Either it's offense in that fourth quarter where they're slowly taking the ball up or letting guys get behind them. Even after made baskets and in transition, sometimes they're not always as urgent as they need to be, as we've seen in these playoffs. And the ball pressure as well. Indiana has gone more full court pressure than like any team in the last 10 years in the playoffs. They're like something like 15%, I want to say, last time I saw a few games ago. And while the Celtics, I think, have good ball handlers, none of them are elite. None of them like not TJ McConnell, Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, they're going to be the main guys taking up the ball in terms of inbounding. And I trust them all with it, but I also know there's going to be times where you're going to either trap them, you're going to get them to do a 8-second violation, you're going to do things to bother the Boston Celtics and make things annoying. And then offensively, they have firepower. They're going to shoot the ball, they're going to shoot threes, they're going to score in the paint. Miles Turner could stretch the floor. I mean, it's kind of like a mini Boston Celtics, what Boston wants to run, where they want to have 5 out. They want to have as many shooters on the court as possible, and they want to take advantage of your defense when they can. The issue is Boston doesn't really have any huge disadvantages on defense. I think the one area you could probably expose them is trying to get Al Horford and pick and roll.
Yep.
If he's going to play a lot of drop like we saw against Cleveland, Halliburton's going to have a lot of chances to get open looks from 3. But other than that, I'm interested to see how Missoula is going to match up. I think there's a world where Drew Holiday starts on Pascal Siakam. I think you could see Tatum on Siakam potentially. I don't know if it's going to be Derek White or Jaylen Brown on Tyrese Halliburton. My guess is Jaylen Brown just because he's a bit bigger and he's kind of been wanting to take that responsibility. But I think the Pacers, they're going to make games annoying, and everyone's going to be like, oh, how can you possibly lose a game? They're a formidable team. They think they give us the most tough matchup out of anyone we played so far. It's not saying much, though. We've beaten up on some bad teams, some injured teams, but credit to the Pacers. I think it's going to be a fun series. I got us in 5 or 6 games.
Who would have thought, man, the Pacers would be here in the conference finals?
What did it take?
Who would have thought, man?
Let me ask you a question. Shout out to Toronto. Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby being 2 of the biggest.
Imagine if you had both on the same team.
Imagine.
That'd be cool.
Imagine.
Guy like Fred running the point, maybe.
Yo, that's not a bad idea either. Imagine you had a Rookie of the Year also on your team who also made an All-Star team.
Damn.
And Scotty Barnes on that squad also.
I'm going to go home and do that in 2K.
Shit, man. That team would probably win games. We'll go home and do that in 2K. Yo, you actually had one of the all-time quotes with... When we were on you dropped Wilt numbers with that one. What was it? With the Cleveland Sea? Yeah, go put Donovan back in. Let's see what happens. Put it on 2K.
That's so stupid, bro. It's like, well, if Donovan was healthy, I'm like, all right, like maybe next year he'll be healthy and we'll see. Like, why am I going to sit here and argue this now?
Put it in 2K. Mavericks versus Timberwolves prediction. I've been thinking about this all day.
Has it been eating you up?
It has.
It's like picking between 2 of your kids.
It's because you're going to hurt a fan base. That's the only reason why it's hurting you.
It's going to hurt me seeing one of them lose. It's going to hurt me seeing Luka or Anthony Edwards lose one of them. Really been thinking all night about it. I've honestly been thinking about this for a while now because I always knew Dallas was going to be OKC. That wasn't a surprise to me.
Always?
But Minnesota.
Always knew that? Don't do that shit.
I had Wolves in 7. Well, I always in terms of like the last 2 weeks, the playoff prediction.
Agreed.
Yes, and then Wolves in 7. It was looking a little scary when they were down 3-2. But, there was always that thought in the back of my head, okay, if these teams meet, who would I pick? Man, so I've thought about this for a while now. This isn't just something I've been thinking about recently, but it's just getting more pressure now. More people want my answer. Who you picking? They're trying to just like flip me and get coins out of my pocket, just trying to get me to say something. And I have been ignoring people. I'm not answering nobody. I want to talk about the keys first because the Timberwolves best defense in the NBA, but the Mavericks have had the number 1 defense over the last 20 games and they've been elite in the playoffs. I think to simplify things, Timberwolves defense better, Mavericks offense better. I think just to simplify things, that's how it is. Mm-hmm. With the Mavericks, I think the keys for them is they have to get favorable switches in a pick and roll. I think you try to get Gobert, try to get them into drop coverage, try to set screens higher away from the basket so they are further away from the basket. In this series, I think it's going to be a lot of one-on-one. I think Minnesota's going to play Dallas similar to how they played Phoenix. We're going to stay attached to shooters. We trust Jaden to stay on Devin Booker. Kevin Durant can do what he does because Kevin Durant averaged 29 on great efficiency, but really from a team standpoint, that's what Minnesota wanted him to do. So I think it's the similar game plan here. Let Luka go one-on-one. Jaden could get that matchup. Let Anthony Edwards guard Kyrie Irving. Let him get that matchup. And we're just going to stay home on defense. But then it gets into like kind of a tricky situation because you like Luka one-on-one. Regardless of the defender, you like those chances. But if screens come and now you're getting switches instead of switching or blitzing the ball handler, now you're talking about maybe Mike Conley being on Luka. If you get some post entries into Luka and now he's using his size to abuse that matchup, it can look pretty rough. Luka and Kyrie, 48.3 points per game as a duo this year, on the way to the conference finals, 4th most in NBA history. The other 3, Hakeem and Clyde Drexler, Kawhi and Siakam, LeBron and Wade, they all won a championship in that given year. Defensively, the biggest key is to keep Anthony Edwards out the paint. They need the rim protection to really shine this series. He's at his best when he's driving the basketball. Can you lessen his efficiency going downhill? And do you double Cat? I think PJ, he has the weight to match up with Cat, but he's 6'7". There's a height advantage. So are you going to throw another body at Cat to maybe get him off his game? But ultimately, I look at the matchups and I say it's Kyrie versus Conley, Luka versus McDaniels, Derrick Jones Jr. versus Ant on defense, PJ versus Cat, and Gafford versus Lively. I think if you look at this on paper, you feel confident. You think Derrick Jones Jr. has shown all playoffs on he can defend. You put him on Ant because he's the fastest defender, PJ on Cat, and then Luka versus McDaniels, you don't really have to worry about expending much energy from Luka, and Kyrie on Conley. I think he can handle that just fine. The Timberwolves, it's just making sure you're not in rotation. If you can stay out of rotation as much as possible, I think you have a way to win this series, and it's how Anthony Edwards is going to handle double teams. I think how Denver and how Phoenix play defense are totally different than how Dallas plays defense. And I think Dallas has just been so sound this year on the rotations, and they fill up gaps. And I think towards the end of the Denver series, Ant had a much tougher time navigating around those doubles. So this is very much something I'm looking at for the entirety of the series. If Ant can just be more decisive on what to do with the ball, I think the Timberwolves are going to win. I believe they will be able to stay out of rotation. I think they're going to force the Mavs to play one-on-one. They did that against Phoenix. I think they'll be able to negate lobs to the rim that were so susceptible against a team like OKC and the Clippers, be able to limit second chance points by crashing the glass. And I respect this team way too much, ultimately, to pick against them if Luka is not 100%. I still don't know what Luka I'm getting on a game-to-game basis. He had some bad games against OKC. It didn't really matter because other guys stepped up. I don't think the same can happen with Minnesota. Ultimately, the Timberwolves, to me, feel like the team of destiny this year. The best defense in the NBA. First time making the Western Conference Finals in 20 years. Gobert is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, but his peers continue to disrespect his defense. I'm talking about Draymond Green, who's still doing it, but he has had the highest plus-minus of any Wolves player of these playoffs. The Gobert trade was prematurely called the worst trade ever. Then you look at a guy like Cat, who was viewed as a playoff dropper, but is now having his best playoffs of his career, and he still gets hate for no reason. He can do a simple salute, and there will be a tweet hating on him that has 50,000 likes on it because he's just happy he won a playoff series. But he's been with this team for 9 years. He's been through the rebuilds. He's seen it all, and he's having his best moment. And Anthony Edwards' pre-draft narrative was that he didn't love basketball. And now he's the player you look at and you think loves basketball the most of any superstar player. Ant is one of 3 players aged 22 or younger to average 25, 5, and 5 and reach the conference finals. The other 2, Kobe in 01, LeBron in 07, and Conley's the ultimate veteran. Naz Reid was undrafted. Alexander Walker revived his career at Minnesota. I'm going with the Timberwolves in 6, and I got them winning the whole damn thing. I think they're going to win the championship, and I think they're going to take care of Dallas.
Yeah, Mr. Dehls.
It's going to be a great series. I'm excited for this series. I think Minnesota's on a crazy high right now. You beat Denver, the defending champs, in 7 games. The way you win Game 6 and Game 7, both in different but yet still dominating fashions. You prove that you could go out there and smoke someone by 40. You could prove you could go out there and come back from 20. You prove you could go out there and go, bar for bar in the clutch against one of the best clutch teams that I'd seen in the postseason really last year more than this year, but still very poised with the best player in the world. It's very difficult to root against or to bet against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And although Luka Doncic these last 2 games has looked more like himself, giving you 30 balls, giving you triple doubles, giving you classic step back threes in guys' face, and just looking like the Luka MVP that we had seen all regular season long, I can't go against Minnesota. What they've looked like on defense, what offensive moments they're able to put together, the runs they're able to put together, especially coming off of their defense, being able to get multiple stops. Minnesota also went on like 3 or 4 stretches where they didn't score in like 4 minutes, but they also kept Denver to a couple of those stretches as well, obviously in that 3rd and 4th quarter where Denver wasn't able to score for a few minutes. If you're able to rebound the ball and get on transition when you have a guy like Anthony Edwards, who is one of, or if not top 3 in terms of transition bucket getters in the league, you have Karl-Anthony Towns playing with all of his confidence. You have Jaden McDaniels playing with all of his confidence. The steadiness of Mike Conley. Naz Reid, who I don't think we mentioned enough. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if we mentioned him that much in that Game 7, but he was one of the most important pieces right up there with Cat in terms of his energy off the bench. You're able to move off one of those bigs. Usually Cat, Naz Reid comes in the game, and you really don't miss a beat. his ability to shoot the ball, his ability to create off the dribble for himself, also being able to go coast to coast at his size and his strength is just insane. And I just don't think Dallas matches up well against Minnesota. You know, you're banking on Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving to be able to pick apart one of the best defenses we've ever seen. And Luka is one of the best playmakers in the NBA. If there's anyone to do it, it's probably him. But I also have the same thing with Nikola Jokic. I'm saying if there's any team that could pick apart this defense, it would be Nikola Jokic, and he wasn't able to do it. And no disrespect to Luka, I still think Nikola Jokic is the better player out of those two guys. I think Minnesota wins this in 6 or 7 games. I know I gave it a lot of credit to Minnesota, but this still feels like a pretty 50-50 series to me. Because if Luka is 100%, he could go out there and make shots that you can't believe. And he could make shots that you could play great defense, and you could fight over screens, and you could get in his face, and you could be physical, but he's still going to make those shots.
He could will the team to the finals if he's that exceptional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Kyrie's going to have to be more aggressive this series. I know the 14 or 15 points per game wasn't great. Efficiency was still there. He needs to be more aggressive. But more than anything, if Dallas wants to win these games, you need your role players to continue to play the other plane. You're going to get open looks, I think, in the corner at times because although you trust Jaden McDaniels and Ant to play one-on-one with their top players, there's still going to be moments, especially when you're driving to the rim, that help is naturally going to come. PJ Washington, Derrick Jones, they're going to have to hit those corner threes if they want a chance to win this series. 6 or 7 games, the way Minnesota's looked, have home court advantage, so you have that extra game at home. I think the Timberwolves take it home.
Believe it or not, this was a tough series for me to choose. I say that with the understanding that defensively, I do agree with you guys. I think that the Minnesota Timberwolves do match up extremely well with the Dallas Mavericks. But shout out to our guy, Carson, from Nerdcess. You're a legend. He put out the stats talking about how amazing we saw Denver's offense to be last season.
Love stealing his content.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he is.
Do it all the time.
They're the GOAT. Shout out to Nerdcess.
Yes.
They had an offensive rating last year in the postseason of 118. That was the best ever by a champ. Minnesota held them to 93 offensive rating in their 4 losses in this series. Honestly, an unbelievable showing against the reigning champions. But we understand, like we've all given them credit for, this is one of the better defenses that we've seen. Versatility, size, rebounding. They essentially have it all. And now that we see Karl Anthony Towns show this amount of effort on the defensive side of the ball, and, of course, Naz Reid now showing me even more than I already had anticipated from him in the game, of course, where he had to step up where Rudy Gobert was out. But we've just seen in moments where Naz Reid can be that great of a defender. I mean, they just have so much versatility. I sit here struggling to pick a winner for the idea that you mentioned it has to be PJ. It has to be Derek that are hitting these shots. Tim Hardaway Jr., I don't care if he's been one of the colder players for the Dallas Mavericks. He's still an essential piece. He needs to hit his open shots. I doubted it in these last couple of series, but they were on against the Clippers. They were on against Oklahoma City. It comes down to the fact of if Minnesota is going to play one-on-one against Dallas, yeah, I feel confident the Wolves will win this series because now you're not put it into a position where OKC was, where Derek and PJ are getting consistent wide open looks, or whoever rotational players that they do have in the court are getting these wide open looks. These are high quality shots that I'm sure Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are happy to kick the ball out to, and obviously it's led to 2 playoff series wins. So if they do play one-on-one, which I am anticipating, I will be going with the Wolves to win this series, but I do think that it's going to be a hard-fought one. I'm not underselling the Mavericks anymore. I will be going with the Wolves in 7, but this will be an amazing series. I understand that he has this tag of being injured right now. To me, that's not going to faze him. We saw it in moments where in the OKC series where he looked banged up. He didn't seem himself, but the next game he was able to bounce back. And he was amazing in the closeout game in Game 6. I'm expecting a typical Luka Doncic performance. Kyrie Irving in that matchup, I'm a little bit more worried about. We didn't see the best version of Kyrie in the Oklahoma City series, but this match becomes even more tougher because you're probably going to be faced off against Anthony Edwards, and who has been one of the better defenders also at his position this postseason. So it'll be an awesome series. It's been awesome just talking about both of these teams all season long, but I think that it does come to an end for Dallas here. No trolls aside. I think that they will not go out like fools. I think they will respect themselves.
You know, the thing is, this series is tough to predict because there could be various number of outcomes depending on how these coaches scheme up the
100% true.
the game. With the Mavericks, first of all, I just want to say, I think this series is a slugfest.
For sure.
I think mostly every game is going to come down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a defensive battle.
Outside of game one.
Because game one, the history with Jason Kidd. The Timberwolves defense, we know how exceptional Wolves defense is. But I don't think the Mavericks have still got enough credit for how exceptional their defense is. If we already know the Timberwolves have a tendency to be a little bit up and down on offense, and with the Mavericks on defense, if they're able to deter shots at the rim and make this a perimeter-oriented game and have you shooting the three-point shot at a high volume, which I think Minnesota has good shooters, but not snipers that you're comfortable shooting a high volume of shots, three-point shots with every single game. If they can play into that and you make Minnesota's offense struggle, now it just becomes a game of who's winning in the clutch. And I will say this for the Mavericks, and I don't feel the same way for the Wolves. I think even with the Wolves' amazing defense, I really trust Luka and Kyrie's ability to get you a shot on offense every single time down and to get you a good look. It could be an open shot for a role player, or it can be a contested shot for Kyrie and Luka. Those are shots you feel comfortable in. This is going to be a series where both of them have to really go nuclear, though. I think that Luka has to average like 35 a game. If they want to win, he has to be the MVP version of himself and go on one of the best stretches that he's went on in his career.
And we've seen him play at a very high level in games that he's played against Minnesota this season, averaging almost 37 points a game, shooting over 50% from the field, almost 37% from three, double-digit assists. I don't have worries about Luka Doncic. I get that people are worried about his injuries that he's coming into this series with, but he's Luka. At a certain point, you do need to trust that. Listen, he is the reason I sat here and almost did choose Mavs in 7. I truthfully do mean that. I almost chose Mavs in 7, but just understanding the defensive matchups that the Minnesota Timberwolves can throw at him at the Mavericks. But then you mentioned the three-point shooting. I agree. If they turn this into a perimeter game, obviously that's not the ideal situation for Minnesota. But when you sit and think about it, Jaden McDaniels is going to continue to be this offensive player that he's been. Not that he's been anything elite, but I mean more than serviceable. We've seen these last few performances, especially last night, where he's able to hit 20, he's able to score over 20 points. He's hitting his open jumpers. But Karl Anthony Towns as well. Obviously, we know him to be one of the better three-point shooters. He's been playing his best basketball in this postseason, or for any of his postseason runs. Mike Conley can knock down shots. We've seen Anthony Edwards as a jump shooter this postseason be unbelievable. Naz Reid has not been the typical Naz Reid offensively, but we still know that he can knock down the three ball. I think that Minnesota has more shooting than the thing behind. No, all good. I think Minnesota does have a little bit more shooting than what we give them credit for because they don't take in an excess volume. But what it comes down for me is this defense is going to be great, and I anticipate, like you already have mentioned, I anticipate one-on-one matchups because you saw PJ and Derek be such heavy influences in swaying the series towards back Dallas in OKC, in Los Angeles, that I don't see Minnesota making that same mistake because simply they have the personnel to not.
The thing I'm most interested in seeing, and I think Jason Kidd will lean into this, I think the way they're going to play Minnesota on defense, I'm betting on this to happen, is that they're going to force Anthony Edwards into mid-range shots. We know that as of now, Anthony Edwards has been nuclear hot from that area and as a pull-up shooter in general in the playoffs and in his career. That was a shot that he was willing to give SGA, somebody that for an entirety of the season showed that he is one of the very best pull-up shooters in the league.
Yep.
It is possible that Jason Kidd is hedging his bets and saying, you know what? We're going to force Ant into this type of shot. We're going to block out the paint and force him to beat us, and we're just going to live with that shot coming back down to earth.
Interesting.
So I think that is something I'm going to look forward to seeing if they actually do. But I think that is the way to kind of stop what Anthony Edwards has been on, is just force him into these shots that he's making at a hot clip, but that you are banking on that will just lower in efficiency over time.
And you're banking on that over he's getting one step on me. He's driving to the rim. Now all of a sudden I'm relying on Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively, who have done a good job in their own right to protect the rim, but we're talking about Anthony Edwards. So if he's settling for pull-up jump shots, I'm taking that as a win. Because if he's not able to get 2 feet in the paint, now you got help coming over, you get the ball out, and you get Jaden McDaniels in the corner, or Mike Conley, or Cat, and now you got guys in rotation. That's tough. He's been shooting, he's over 60% true shooting. Yeah. 64%, right?
Yeah, he's at an all-time rate. And that's what's difficult for this series for me to project, is because you're going from 2 series where you're facing Jusuf Nurkic as a rim protector and sometimes Kevin Durant, to then Nikola Jokic, to now Gafford and Lively. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a different beast. It's a different animal.
Yeah, I feel like every series with the Wolves, we're kind of waiting for Anthony Edwards to get to the median. To get to the mean of where he's his normal self, but not this level where he's just been all world almost every single game. We're seeing him just be one of the more efficient players. Of course, he wasn't that last night, but for a majority of this postseason, we've seen him be special. We're kind of waiting for it to get back to normal, and I feel like that's why it's been kind of difficult to
evaluate.
Correct. But he's just
because it might not happen.
Correct. We can just continue seeing him be this amazing player that he's been, and then this conversation is for nothing. But Joel, you mentioned Gafford and you mentioned Lively, and I feel like that's something that we haven't touched on, is rebounding. One of the biggest reasons we saw Dallas move on in that series with the Thunder was because they out-physicaled and they were just the better rebounding team. We knew the Thunder were going to come in and struggle there, but I didn't think it'd have as much of an influence on the series as it did. Similarly with the Wolves, in the first half of last night's game, we saw them, especially from Jokic, just be a force rebounding the basketball. They cleaned that up in the second half, ended up being the main reason why they were able to, one of the main reasons why they were able to mount that comeback and win the game. They have Gobert. Obviously, McDaniels can be a good rebounder. You have Cat can be a good rebounder. Naz Reid can be a great rebounder himself. I don't think I anticipate to see the same level of dominance from a Lively and a Gafford that I saw in that Oklahoma City Thunder on the interior, simply for the fact of this is a Rudy Gobert series where now he does not have to worry about playing on the outside because of Jokic or Aaron Gordon trying to bring him outside the paint. Now you have Lively and or Gafford that aren't floor stretchers, and this kind of plays exactly into Minnesota's hands. So it'll be interesting to see if Gobert gets respect this series, because a lot of people have been quick to slight him. And I think that he's a lot better than that, although he didn't do himself any favors outside of that great, miraculous fading jumper.
He made it for a Game 7. I mean, offensively, he's never going to do nothing.
Even still, defensively, he had his moments, but he was getting out-rebounded terribly by Jokic. He fouled out of yesterday's game too.
Game 6.
Yeah, for sure.
Facts. Game 6 more than Game 7.
Agreed.
But still, Game 7 holding Jokic, I don't know what he went, but super inefficient.
Agreed.
He was, to be fair, Jokic was settling a lot, and you got Cat on him a ton too, and just have Gobert roam a lot.
That's kind of the unsung thing that Rudy Gobert does for these shooting big men. You force them into taking these jump shots, and honestly, that's a win for Minnesota. If you can keep Jokic out of the box in the paint, you're automatically winning. Because that's where Jokic has been the most dominant, one of the most dominant players that we've seen, especially over the last, 10 years, outside of course, let's count Giannis and Zion, because that's essentially the only way that they can score the basketball on a consistent basis. If you can do that, you're winning. So that's an unsung thing that not many people point to Rudy Gobert and give him credit for, because he's such an amazing rim protector.
And that's why Cat is going to have to really guard this series. Cat is going to be the main one that's being put in all these actions and he's going to be forced to defend in space. Mm-hmm. So he's the one that's going to be really stressed on defense. Anthony Edwards, after Game 7 when they beat the Nuggets, he said that he's going to guard Kyrie and Jaden's going to guard Luka.
Makes sense.
It does make sense, but I feel like that gives Dallas an advantage, because now you're putting Conley on Derrick Jones Jr. Mm-hmm. And Derrick Jones Jr., if there's one thing he's going to do, he's going to crash the glass. Yeah. So now you're putting somebody who's 6'7" against somebody who's 6'1", and he has to be responsible for boxing out Derrick Jones Jr. Mm-hmm. So that can lead to a lot of second chance opportunities for Dallas if that happens. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little wrinkle to just keep an eye on. That's why I don't know if you really put Ant on Kyrie. Like it makes sense, but you also need to keep somebody off the glass. And where I think Minnesota's bigs, they have the advantage over Dallas's bigs. Mm-hmm. I think from a rebounding perspective, Dallas's wings have a better advantage. I think PJ, Jones Jr., and Josh Green off the bench are better rebounders than McDaniels and Conley and Anthony Edwards and we have to also group in Luka as a rebounder because he's always going to average 9 to 10 rebounds.
He's near the rim usually.
So their guards and wings are better at rebounding. And if you are kind of playing a longer game where a lot of the shots aren't in the paint and these are a lot of long misses, that is going to play to Dallas's advantages.
Yeah, and especially if you have Derrick Jones in that corner like he's been doing a ton in this Thunder series, and you have Conley on him and he's able to attack that closeout, and you have 5 inches, 6 inches on Mike Conley, that's going to be another advantage you get there too.
Mike Conley becomes interesting because if you do match him up with Kyrie Irving,
that's food.
That's not an ideal matchup. The reason why I'm so, you bringing up Conley playing defense on Derrick Jones Jr., not an ideal situation. I don't disagree.
And on a bad hammy too.
But where I'll live with that, and giving them second chance opportunity is my best chance to halt these two guys is Anthony Edwards on Kyrie and Jaden McDaniels naturally on Luka Doncic. But yeah, that definitely can be something that you look at for Dallas and think, yeah, this can help us out. This could be something beneficial because if you're giving Kyrie and Luka Doncic second opportunities, they're going to capitalize eventually on that. So that'll be something to look out for. But I still feel confident that there's very few teams that are as sound defensively as Minnesota that we've seen over the last few years. So I'm going to trust that defense and Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns to be able to offensively do enough.
It's going to be a fun series. I think this is going to be the funnest series of the conference finals. Well, it's against the Celtics and Pacers, so it's not much competition.
I don't know. You said it's going to be a good series.
Oh, it can. Oh, it very well can happen.
Let me say the best series, maybe Philly and the Knicks. That was an awesome series. We saw a lot of great games. This Oklahoma City and Dallas series was great. We saw a lot of great games in that series, even though it's not the result that I thought or really wanted. Mavericks, there's no hiding it. Didn't want you to win. It was great game after great game outside of game one.
So, no, like, there is a scenario where I think Dallas can win, though.
I do believe so, too.
I flipped on it. If I pick the Mavs, it's going to be Mavs in 6, honestly, because I just don't know if this is going to go 7 games with the intensity that both teams played at last series. I think that it's going to probably end it's going to end in 6 either way. But, yeah, I just don't see Minnesota as locked in as they are just losing.
Who takes game 1?
Minnesota
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Dallas, book it.
If they
you got Dallas game 1?
Dallas game 1.
That would be huge.
Dallas game 1. Minnesota lost what? They lost 2 of 3 last, right? They lost 2 or 3 at home.
Yes.
And then I don't know. It's always something about a team coming off a very emotional win like that game 7. Of course, Dallas is too, but that game 7 in Denver is pretty crazy to come off.
Dallas wins game 1, I'm guaranteeing a Wolves series victory. If they lose game 1, I might flip.
It's funny because I feel like this really plays into what Dallas has been all year.
Underdogs?
Just everybody doubting them.
Yeah.
Because, I'm even picking against them. Everybody's picking against Dallas. And I think Dallas has a real shot. Like, it can happen. It can happen. I ain't mad either way.
I agree with you. I genuinely can see a world where Dallas does win. No sliding them. Luka Doncic is the best player in this series. You say Ant-Man can be in that conversation because he's been so great this postseason. Does not matter. Luka Doncic is still the best player in this series, and Kyrie Irving is the 3rd best player in this series. You have 2 of the top 3 players on this team, and 2 of the top 3 best players in this series on your team. That's an advantage naturally.
And your players are shooting well.
Some might say some people are rooting for the Mavericks at this table.
Oh yeah, because you want to face them in the finals instead of Minnesota.
Can't say who. Don't want to rat anybody out.
That would suck if you were rooting for them to win and they end up winning and then they beat you out too.
That'd be crazy.
I'll be honest, if I'm you, this is a win-win personally. I say win-win because if it's versus the Mavericks, I think I would pick you guys pretty easily. But again, no surprise there. However, if you go against the Wolves, now that can answer some narratives.
What narratives?
The Anthony Edwards versus Jason Tatum narratives.
Well, wouldn't it be Luka versus Tatum too?
Well, that too, obviously. Okay. But I feel like overwhelming majority believe Luka Doncic is just
I think
far
even
better.
if Luka loses that series, I think he probably would play better than Tatum.
Oh no, I'm jacking Tatum's better than Luka.
You should.
Still,
I would.
Doing it today.
And I might, honestly.
But Edwards, to a lot of people, is still like in that tier. But if he beats him,
because when the Celtics, if the Celtics were to play the Mavs and Jason Tatum outperforms Luka Doncic, I would be wearing chanclas on the show.
Shout out to my brother
Jason Tatum. Oh man, hopefully for the sake of me, they don't win.
Let me also say this: you guys know I am a fan of Anthony Edwards. I do appreciate his game, You mentioned it earlier. The publicity that he's been getting has been a bit much, and I don't disagree. Brian Windhorst saying that he went 1988 Michael Jordan in last night's game. He lied. I was ready to tweet about Game 7 of Jason Tatum versus Anthony Edwards in support of Jason Tatum. It's in my drafts.
I respect that. I saw there's some Celtics people I followed that were putting that out.
Even still?
Yeah. They were putting out like
don't embarrass yourselves.
They were putting out like game because they were comparing it to the Celtics beating the Bucks when we went to the finals, and like Game 6 and Game 7 stats, Tatum versus Game 6 and Game 7 stats, and this Game 7 just it destroyed Ant's numbers, obviously.
It really did. No, it's just the shooting.
Jason
really.
Tatum was otherworldly.
Yeah. And then Tatum had the Game 6 where he was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Tatum's first Game 7
against Milwaukee. You're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, D.
Yeah.
Tatum's first Game 7, he had 20 points, 7 for 17. His second Game 7, 24, 9 for 17. Then the Game 7 after that, 29, 9 for 23.
9 for 23. Not terrible, not great.
Then the other Game 7, 23 points against Milwaukee, 7 for 14. That was when you got beat them by you blew
a
them
million.
out, yeah. And then the Game 7 against Miami, 26 in the ECF, 9 for 21.
Oh, word.
Played well.
And then the Game 7 against Philly, of course, 51.
And Game 7 against Miami, we got.
Yeah, he had 14 points, but he played 41 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
5 for 13, but he was
respect
hurt.
him for being out there, but
Oh yeah, he was hurt.
Yeah,
But no, he's been really good in Game 7s, in his career.
Big game player.
Yeah.
He is.
I think he does elevate. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good ball player, man.
Appreciate that, bro.
He's a good ball player.
First time you ever saw
And
that.
did you realize that he's a good player?
Yeah, I think he's decent.
I think he's pretty good, right? That Tatum guy, he's all right.
That brother's pretty amazing.
He's all right.
It's crazy because I was just someone mentioned it to me about the Paul George comp, and Paul George's best season. I mean, it's like a borderline top 3 season for Tatum.
No, Jason Tatum is better than Paul George.
He is. That was never in question.
The question is just like, is he a number one?
The archetype.
Is he a true number one? That's the real question.
That's why it's not a bad statement or rude statement. I didn't take it as rude. Paul George is very respected.
Yeah, it's just he's better.
Oh, he's
just like already better. So
agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
That's going to do it for this episode of Pick a Side Podcast, episode 380. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.